Chapter 520. Naruto. Naruto, who was originally excited to develop a new ninjutsu, had no enthusiasm at this moment. What the hell? The ninjutsu that I know, others also know. The new ninjutsu that I'm about to develop, others also know. Although that move looks very cool and powerful. But if you look carefully at Hinata's face full of disdain, what's the use of learning this ninjutsu? In fact, Hinata didn't really look down on this move. As Naruto's signature ninjutsu, Rasengan series moves are indeed very powerful. And the power and destructive power of the technique are impeccable. But even if the power of Rasen Shuriken is strong, it can be absorbed by Rinnegan and Tenseigan. Especially for Hinata, who has mastered the Senjutsu chakra. Even if it's Rasen Shuriken, Hinata can easily absorb it. Remember in the original Naruto, Pain and Uchiha Madara seemed to have absorbed Naruto's Senjutsu Shuriken. Cough. Kakashi coughed to cover up the embarrassment in his heart. Originally, he wanted to show off his aptitude, but he was shown off by Hinata. Since Hinata has mastered this move, it won't be so difficult to learn it. In order not to dampen Naruto's enthusiasm, Hinata also quickly said, Naruto, you are now used to using Shadow Clone to condense Rasengan. If you want to add Wind Nature Change, it's best to use 3 Shadow Clones to practice. The main body is used to maintain, 1 Shadow Clone is used to rotate, and 1 Shadow Clone is responsible for integrating Wind Nature Change. Kakashi's eyes lit up when he heard this. In this way, maybe it will really succeed. Although Naruto can use Shadow Clone to practice Chakra Nature Change, Kakashi is not sure whether the new ninjutsu can be developed. Rasengan is not as simple as a form change, it's the extreme form change. For example, Sasuke's Chidori Sharp Spear and Chidori Stream can be regarded as the form change of Chidori. Kakashi has never had this kind of imagination, but he can quickly master the 2 forms of Chidori as long as he sees it once. Including Kakashi's Thunder Tiger Kill and Lightning Chakra, they are also the form change of Raikiri. But the difference between the ordinary form change and the extreme form change is the extreme form change. To complete this ninjutsu requires a strong control of chakra. This is what Naruto has always lacked. With Hinata looking after Kyuubi, Naruto began a new practice. Even if Naruto was a little upset, he couldn't help but feel a little excited to learn Rasen Shuriken, a deadly ninjutsu. Hinata looked up at the sky and frowned slightly. Although he has lived in the ninja world for almost 16 years, Hinata still recalls the original Naruto from time to time. After all, he has read Naruto Ninja several times, and Hinata still remembers some of the main plots. If he remembers correctly, since the Fire Temple has been attacked by the undead duo, then Asuma should also die in the hands of Haiden. Hinata still has a little conscience, although he doesn't have much contact with Asuma. After all, he is an acquaintance. And Sunset is also pregnant. Since he has the ability to change all this, Hinata doesn't want Sunset to be a widow like in the original work. But what reason should he find to support Asuma? Hinata scratched his face in distress. He can't tell Tsunade that he has an ominous premonition. If he doesn't support Asuma, he may die, right? In the 3 days of accompanying Naruto, Hinata connected to the vision sharing of the artificial satellite every night to check the whereabouts of Asuma and Shikamaru. They have already started to wait for the exchange room. In this way, if it's not today or tomorrow, Asuma's team will encounter the undead duo. Although Shinobu already has accurate information about the undead duo, Asuma and Shikamaru still have a chance to win against Haiden. But if Kakuzu also makes a move, then the 2 will die. What's wrong? Seeing Hinata's strange look, Kakashi asked curiously. Hinata said with a serious face, Kakashi-sensei, I suddenly have an ominous premonition. Seeing Hinata like this, Kakashi didn't dare to treat it as a joke and quickly asked, Hinata, what the hell is going on? Hinata froze. Although something bad may really happen, I'm just talking about the White Fang casually. How can you take it seriously? After all, it's the Akatsuki duo. Kakashi, sensei, you have also fought with them. Those people are not easy to deal with. Kakashi frowned. Are you worried that those search teams will encounter danger? Although from the first day of becoming a ninja, everyone should be prepared to die in the line of duty. But if it can be avoided, no one should be willing to sacrifice in vain. Tsunade is naturally also very clear about the difficulty of the Akatsuki members. Although the search teams are all in groups of 4, the distance between each group is not far. After encountering the organizations, they only need to delay for a few minutes, and soon other teams can come to support. According to the 4-person team of 1 Jonin and 3 Chunin, and Shinobu has accurate information about the undead duo, under normal circumstances, 2 teams are enough to fight with the undead duo. And this is also the main reason why, although the strength of the organizations is very strong, the major ninja villages don't put them in their eyes. Because except for the Akatsuki leader and Orochimaru, the strength of the other members of the Akatsuki is within the scope of permission. As long as the cooperation is appropriate, the Akatsuki members are not difficult to deal with. Well, Hinata nodded. I am very worried about Asuma. Asuma? Kakashi frowned, hesitated for a short moment, and immediately said to Hinata, Hinata, you go with me to Naruto Tower immediately. Ha. Hinata was a bit stunned. Kakashi is so serious. You know, Asuma may be in danger, is just a premonition of Hinata. Not only there is no information to support it, it can't even be regarded as a guess. However, even so, Kakashi still believes in Hinata's words. Without giving Hinata time to react, Kakashi shouted, Follow me, and then ran towards Naruto Tower. Hinata. Although it is a bit strange, but for Asuma's safety, Hinata still followed. Speaking of which, there is a profession called prophet in the ninja world, such as the great Toad Sage who prophesied the child of prophecy that will change the ninja world. So for a super ninja like Hinata, even if it is just a premonition, it can be treated as accurate information. Not to mention that Hinata only has a premonition that Asuma will be in danger. Even if Hinata has a premonition that Shinobu will be destroyed, Tsunade doesn't dare to treat it as a joke, but immediately ordered Shinobu to enter a state of full preparation for war. This is the treatment of the strong. Chapter 521. Naruto's Office. After listening to the description of Hinata and Kakashi, Tsunade's face was also serious. His brows were tightly knitted, and after only a moment of hesitation he ordered, Hinata, Kakashi, you immediately rushed to support Asuma's team. Jinin. Yes. Jinin hurriedly flipped through the documents on the desk, and took out a piece of paper from a pile of messy files. According to the information sent back by Asuma yesterday, they should be lying in ambush at the 3rd exchange place in the Land of Fire. If I remember correctly, it should be disguised as a public toilet. Kakashi said seriously. Hinata, let's go immediately. Following Kakashi all the way out of Shinobu, Hinata still found it difficult to accept. God knows how many excuses Hinata has thought of in order to support Asuma in the past few days. But every excuse is not perfect enough. For veteran ninjas like Kakashi and Tsunade, it is estimated that they can see the flaws at a glance. If he had known that premonitions could be trusted, Hinata wouldn't have wasted so many brain cells. To be honest, Shinobu has now grasped the information of the undead duo. A team of 1 Jonin and 3 Chunin is enough to hold 1 person. As long as there are 2 teams, they can hold the undead duo. When the main force arrives to support, Kakuzu and Haiden will only have a dead end. In this case, unless Asuma personally asks for help, it is hard to believe that Asuma will die in the hands of the undead duo. And things like premonitions, especially the premonitions of the strong, often happen. Before the collapse of Shinobu's plan, Naruto of 3 generations had a premonition that something big was going to happen to Shinobu. In the original manga, when Jiraiya went to the Land of Rain to inquire about information, Tsunade also had a bad premonition. Even when Asuma died in battle, Kurenai also felt an inexplicable sense of panic. This should be the connection between chakra. The world that Rikudo Sennin wants to create relies on this connection between chakra, hoping that people can understand each other. By the way, Kakashi-sensei, isn't the existence of the exchange place illegal? Hinata found it hard to believe that Shinobu would still allow such an organization to operate in the Land of Fire after knowing the existence of the exchange place. How should I say it? Kakashi looked a little embarrassed. After considering his words, he explained, anything that already exists has a reason for its existence. After all, this is an era of peace. Oh. Hinata understood. Even if there is a peace treaty between the shinobi villages and there is business between them, the relationship between the two shinobi villages is still hostile. Just like Shinobu and Sand Hideout, as long as one side wants to go to war, the peace treaty can be torn up at any time. However, now that the peace treaty is in effect, there are some things that can't appear on the surface. For example, a reward for a well-known ninja of the Sand Village. It is this kind of secret confrontation between the shinobi villages that gave birth to the gray area of the exchange place. In front of the third exchange place of the Land of Fire. The one in the middle is really. Kakuzu glanced at Haiden and said indifferently, rare. You actually have a fate with money this time, Haiden. Haiden waved the bloody March sickle and shouted arrogantly, Kakuzu, don't make a move. I want to use them for the ritual. As for the money, it's yours. Kakuzu said coldly, that's exactly what I want. Don't be too careless, or you will die. This thug. Haiden pierced his palm, looked up to the sky and groaned, stepped on the bloodstains on the ground, and while drawing the curse ritual, he shouted arrogantly, you'd better save it for others to hear. I really hope that they can kill me, but it's impossible. 20 meters away from Haiden, Shikamaru, Asuma, Chumo, and Zitai were defending in a V formation, vigilant against Kakuzu and guarding against Haiden. Judging from the intelligence, these two people are not easy to kill, Shikamaru whispered. One of them has 5 hearts, and must be killed 5 times. As for the other, Shinobu still doesn't have much information about Haiden. Asuma said solemnly, I'll go first. You find an opportunity to bind Haiden with Sowing Shadow. Just once, I'll cut off his head and make him unable to move. As for Kakuzu, although I don't want to admit it, he won't make a move easily. In the intelligence collected by Shinobu, Haiden only had the ability to not die, and his physical skills were very good. As for Haiden's curse ritual, to be honest, Shinobu didn't know about it at all. There was no other reason. When Hinata was ambushed by the Akatsuki group, Haiden couldn't even be considered cannon fodder. He was directly pressed to the ground by Hinata before he could make a move. Shikamaru nodded slightly, approving Asuma's plan. Compared to Haiden, the other one who could use 5 escape techniques, Chakra's almost infinite Kakuzu was more troublesome. At least, before the other teams came to support, it would be good to delay Haiden for a while. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Haiden curled his lips and screamed in disdain. Bastards who can't empathize with other people's pain. God will punish you. Shikamaru squatted down and made a strange seal with his hands. It was a seal unique to the Nara clan's Kagejetsu, which was not in the basic 12 seals. Asuma and Haiden looked at each other, and then suddenly rushed out. Chakra blade and scythe constantly collided in the air, and the sound of metal clashing echoed. Several black shadows stretched out from Shikamaru's feet, and the shadows left the ground and constantly harassed Haiden's movements. Shikamaru and Asuma have been working together for 3 years, and the two are very familiar with each other's ninjutsu, and their cooperation is also very tacit. Under the harassment of Shikamaru's shadow secret technique, Asuma and Haiden were in a stalemate for a while. Although Haiden is not eye-catching in the organizations, if faced with a ninja from outside the village, even the weakest of the organizations can still suppress the other party. Asuma is an elite jonin of Shinobu. Even if he is not as good as Kakashi, he should be at the level of Zabuza. However, Asuma and Shikamaru joined forces, but they were still gradually forced into a disadvantage by Haiden. Bloody March scythe slashed Asuma's face and blood sputtered out. Haiden pulled back the scythe and avoided Shikamaru's shadow jutsu. He stuck out his tongue and licked the blood on the scythe with a smug look on his face. A wound that can only be regarded as a scratch has no effect on Asuma at all. Throwing chakra blade into the air, Asuma's hands quickly formed a seal. Fire release, ash accumulation burn. The gray smoke covered the place where Haiden was, and as Asuma launched a ninjutsu, the area covered by the gray smoke exploded instantly. Rumble, is it painful? Isn't it? When the smoke and dust dissipated, Haiden was half squatting on the ground. His whole body had turned black with white stripes on his black body. This is the punishment. Chapter 522. How could this be? Seeing Asuma, who was also burned in half of his body, Shikamaru, Chumo, and Zitai were all shocked. Shikamaru instantly thought of the tricky part of this technique. According to the information, Haiden has an immortal body. Even if his body is broken into several pieces, he will not die as long as he is reconnected. If Haiden is injured, Asuma will be injured, then as long as Haiden dies, Asuma will also die. But Haiden has an immortal body. I have cursed you, the ceremony will begin now. Haiden shouted with a crazy expression. Come on. Taste the most extreme pain with me. Damn it. What should I do now? Shikamaru was sweating anxiously. Although he had already guessed the other party's information, it was difficult for Shikamaru to figure out how to break this technique in an instant. Seeing Haiden take out a black iron spike, Shikamaru could only control Haiden with the shadow technique in a hurry. Ugh! Haiden's body suddenly stiffened, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get rid of the control of the shadow technique. Damn it! If Haiden were to evaluate the most disgusting ninjutsu in the entire ninja world, it must be the shadow technique of the Nara clan. The secret technique of this clan is simply perfect to restrain Haiden's ability. Haiden's curse ritual must be done by standing in the circle, but standing in the circle, he can't escape the shadow technique. Once controlled by the shadow technique, Shikamaru can easily pull Haiden out of the circle. What Hinata saw through the Byakugan was the scene of Shikamaru and Haiden in a stalemate. Ha! Hinata breathed a sigh of relief, while pulling Kakashi in the air, and said to Kakashi. Fortunately, Shikamaru caught up, let's go quickly. Kakashi nodded with a serious face. Hinata looked at Shikamaru and Haiden, and couldn't help but complain to Kakashi. Teacher Kakashi, I realized that Shikamaru's IQ isn't that high. Kakashi's exposed right eye rolled. You're the least qualified to say that in all of Shinobu. Hinata continued, Shikamaru should have already guessed Haiden's ninjutsu. If he used shadow imitation jutsu, he could easily pull Haiden out of the ritual circle, but Shikamaru chose to use shadow headbind jutsu to compete with Haiden. Unlike shadow imitation jutsu, which can force the opponent to do the same action as the user, shadow headbind jutsu can make the shadow materialize and bind the enemy physically, or even directly strangle the enemy to death. But since shadow headbind jutsu is a physical binding, the person who is hit by it can forcibly break free from the control of this jutsu. Haiden's strength and chakra are undoubtedly above Shikamaru's. Facing such an opponent, shadow headbind jutsu is very difficult to use. Shikamaru can't even pinch Haiden's neck, and Shikamaru's chakra consumption rate is far above Haiden's consumption rate. Kakashi. It has to be said that Hinata's analysis is quite reasonable. Shikamaru's combat intelligence is really not high, and the quality of Shinobu's chunin also needs to be improved. Hinata said in a worried ninja tone. The two chunins, Kamayuki Izumo and Steel Child Steel, are actually standing aside and watching in a daze. Is it because they have been watching the door for too long? The quality of Shinobu's ninja is really worrying. Thinking of this, Hinata secretly rejoiced in his heart. If all the good characters had low IQ, then wouldn't the chances of a cute and charming villain like himself winning be even higher? I see it. Kakashi exclaimed in a low voice. From afar he saw 6 small black dots rapidly expanding on the ground, gradually turning into 6 distinct silhouettes. They were Shikamaru, Asuma, and the others. Hinata. Descend to a low altitude to prevent the enemy from discovering us first. Okay. Hinata responded, and as if thinking of something he suddenly turned to look at Kakashi and said excitedly, Kakashi-sensei, why don't you use that move? That move. Kakashi was taken aback at first, and then said with some distress, after all, I don't have the bloodline of the Uchiha clan, and the burden of Manjikyu Sharingan is still too great for me. It doesn't matter. Hinata didn't care about that. While talking, Chakra's arm that bound Kakashi suddenly stretched out a small hand, grabbed Kakashi's forehead protector, and directly pulled it up. At the same time, Hinata also sent a part of chakra to Kakashi. Hinata has already fused with Hashirama's cells, and this chakra can avoid the burden of Manjikyu Sharingan on Kakashi to a certain extent. Kakashi was shocked, and keenly felt the changes in his left eye. The chakra that Hinata passed to him made Kakashi's left eye cool, and the originally somewhat blurry vision also became a lot clearer, and even the opening of Manjikyu Sharingan became much easier. And this chakra transmission method, is it shadow clone technique? Don't be long-winded, Hinata said impatiently. Hurry up and use the Manjikyu Sharingan. Kakashi-sensei, I'm still waiting to see your performance. Kakashi didn't say much, and the Manjikyu Sharingan that he wasn't very familiar with, and even needed a long time to prepare to open, actually opened in an instant. I need to get closer. Okay. Hinata sprayed chakra with all her strength, and Kakashi crossed the sky like a meteor, and the air waves brought by the high-speed flight pressed the ground and the trees on the ground. That is. On the ground, Kakuzu turned his head to look at the distant sky with some doubts, and his originally calm eyes instantly became dignified. Haiden, stop playing around, Kakuzu shouted in a low voice, and without waiting for Haiden to answer, his hands began to quickly form hand seals. Haiden shouted with a face full of dissatisfaction. Didn't I say that I don't need your help, Kakuzu? I alone. Before Haiden's voice fell, the space suddenly rotated rapidly, and Haiden's whole body was instantly sucked into the space. Kakuzu didn't care about this, and the scorching flames were like roaring waves towards Shikamaru and the other two. However, the space rotated again, and the monstrous waves of fire were instantly sucked in by Kamui. So cool. Kakashi-sensei, Hinata cheered and hurriedly urged. Hurry up and deal with the other one. At the same time, Hinata secretly entrusted in his heart. Kakuzu and Haiden are in your hands, bordered soil. In any case, Kakuzu and Haiden were now Hinata's employees, and maybe after Nagato's death, Hinata could recruit these two as his own minions. Especially Kakuzu. He was a super money-making machine. But if Hinata personally fought with Kakuzu and Haiden, they would definitely die. Hinata thought along the way, and felt that the only way to save the two was to use Kakashi's Kamui to send Kakuzu and Haiden to bordered soil. But Kakashi was really too much, sucking everything into the Kamui space. If bordered soil was now in the space, then wouldn't he be roasted? What an inexplicable disaster. Chapter 523. At this moment, Hinata felt that he was really wise. First, he saved Asuma and prevented Sunset from dying alone. Once again, he avoided a tragedy in Naruto. And Hinata was looking forward to seeing Asuma's reaction when he sees Sarutobi's future appearance. If Itachi Uchiha had a photo of him, it would be even better. In addition, this time, he could also save Kakuzu and Haiden by the way. Kakuzu is Hinata's #1 follower, and he will lead the Wind God and Thunder God to make money in the future. Of course, more importantly, Kakuzu and Haiden were sucked into the Kamui space at this moment. Once bordered soil rescues them, it proves that bordered soil's right eye and Kakashi's left eye are connected. If this matter is exposed with Kakashi's wit, he may be able to guess the true identity of bordered soil. Once bordered soil loses his identity as Uchiha Madara, he can no longer declare war in front of the 5 Kage. If Uchiha Madara declares war on the 5 great shinobi villages, the 5 great shinobi villages will be on guard. But if it's Uchiha bordered soil, who knows who this bordered soil is? It's simply killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Just when Hinata was complacent with his wit, Kakashi once again locked Kakuzu with his Sharingan. The space began to rotate, and Kakuzu hurriedly jumped to dodge in panic. Tear! The rapidly rotating space instantly tore off Kakuzu's right arm. And as Kakuzu's right arm was sucked into the space, the black dot at the center of the space rotation chased after Kakuzu again. To some extent, the ability of Kakashi's Sharingan is actually above the bordered soil's Sharingan. Bordered soil's Sharingan needs to touch the opponent, but Kakashi only needs the opponent to appear in his sight. But on the other hand, Kakashi also lost his void form ability that could shield him from attacks. What the hell is this ninjutsu? After living for nearly 100 years, this is the first time Kakuzu has seen such a powerful spacetime ninjutsu. While dodging, Kakuzu looked at Kakashi in shock. Just by looking, he can suck the opponent into space. If this ninjutsu has no drawbacks, it's simply the most invincible ninjutsu in the shinobi world. Impossible. All ninjutsu have a certain flaw. What exactly is the flaw of this technique? Sharingan, yes. It should be the line of sight. Kakuzu rushed into the Sharingan extremely fast speed. The spinning space chased after Kakuzu's figure, and finally stopped at the door of the exchange room. The spinning space then calmed down. Kakuzu Sharingan. Kakashi-sensei, how are you? Hinata asked with concern. Although he asked with a concerned tone, Hinata really wanted to dig out Kakashi's eyes, and then dig out the bordered soil's eyes. If the two Sharingan are gathered together, the absorption speed will be doubled. Two eyes, one can attack from afar, and the other can miss all attacks. This pair of eyes is simply like a bug in the system. The reason why Hinata didn't do it is entirely because there is no place on Hinata's body that can be used for the eyes. Hinata can't transplant the eyes on his arm like Danzo, can he? That's disgusting. As for the forehead, that's the place reserved for the Sharingan. He can't just transplant garbage eyes casually. Kakashi shook his head and said, I'm fine, let's land first. Descending from the sky, Hinata and Kakashi landed beside Shikamaru and the others. Shikamaru quickly asked, Kakashi-sensei, Hinata, why are you here? Asuma also came over and said, Kakashi, you came at the right time. Kakashi nodded to Asuma and then explained, after all, the opponent is a member of the Akatsuki Naruto. Sama was worried about you, so he asked me and Hinata to come over to support you. Asuma nodded, turned around and stared at the door of the exchange, holding the chakra Sharingan, and asked Kakashi at the same time, Kakashi, are you okay? Having been in the Jounin circle for so many years, Asuma naturally knows the burden of the Sharingan on Kakashi. I'm fine. What happened to that person? I'm not very sure. Kakashi stretched out his hand and rubbed his eyes, and said lightly, but this dojutsu, after seeing the bordered soil space-time ninjutsu, and using his own dojutsu smoothly, Kakashi was keenly aware of the similarities between the two. However, there are many ninjutsu that have similar effects in the ninja world, not to mention the space-time ninjutsu. It's all about absorbing people, so there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. Suppressing the doubts in his heart, Kakashi looked at Hinata and asked, Hinata, how is that guy now? He's hiding in there. Hinata said with a serious face, if we rush in now, we can easily catch him. Having said that, Hinata's heart was full of bitterness at the moment. Kato-chan, why can't you understand my good intentions? It's not like I want to kill you. I just want to absorb you. It's obvious that it won't hurt at all, but you refuse to obey. Isn't this good? Now that we're blocking you in the exchange room, you're likely to die today. Inside the exchange room, Kakuzu leaned against the wall with his left hand covering his broken right arm, and his green eyes flashed with a terrible killing intent. Losing his right arm doesn't affect his combat power, but his years of ninja career made him realize that he's definitely not the opponent of those people outside. Even if Hinata isn't here, Kakashi's dojutsu alone is far from what Kakuzu can deal with. I didn't expect Kakashi to have Itachi's dojutsu. Kakuzu's face was gloomy. Dojutsu that can be launched by sight is always the most difficult ninjutsu to deal with. It's rare to find someone who's not bad. Thinking of Haiden's life and death at the moment, Kakuzu's eyes were slightly dim. Undead creatures were always accompanied by loneliness, and the longer they lived, the more intense the loneliness would be. Kakuzu's desire to earn money through working is just to find some fun in his long life. If there's something to do, he can feel that he's still alive and hasn't been abandoned by this era. If there's a kind of people in this world who can live a long life without being eroded by loneliness, then this kind of people must be the otaku and otaku women. Even if there's no manga, movies, TV series, novels, games and other entertainment industries, as a veteran otaku, Hinata said that she can lie in bed all day and still enjoy herself. And playing with herself. No, playing with herself is also very interesting. Hinata felt that she's grown up, and there are some things that she should try a little. Chapter 524. Whoosh! Whoosh! At the entrance of the exchange, four shadows rushed out at an extremely fast speed. Wind, water, and lightning release ninjutsu fused together to form a huge water spout with a diameter of more than 20 meters and rushed towards Hinata's group. The water spout flashed with terrible thunder and lightning, and wherever it passed, the ground was turned into powder. Cool! Hinata praised and was about to condense chakra to form a shield to block the attack, but the space in front of him suddenly began to rotate, and the water spout was sucked into the rotating space in the blink of an eye. Hinata couldn't help but glare at Kakashi. It's just a blue buff, and you're already so excited. Kakashi's whole body was full of energy, and his eyes flashed with blind confidence. The black dot in the center of the rotating space moved quickly, and soon caught a clone of the Earth's grudge, and instantly crushed the mask of the clone. Crack! 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 With 4 soft sounds, 4 clones of the Earth's grudge turned into black water and spread on the ground. Asuma, Hinata, that guy is running away! Kakashi shouted. Hinata and Asuma quickly looked at each other, and then rushed into the exchange, but unfortunately, there was no trace of Kakuzu inside. Walking out of the exchange, Asuma shook his head to Kakashi. He ran away. But it's not like we didn't gain anything. Hinata's eyes lit up as she looked at the 2 boxes left behind by Kakuzu. If she guessed correctly, there should be 30 million ryo inside, exchanged with the heads of the ground. Kakashi's face showed a trace of regret, and then he closed his Mangekyo, but he didn't immediately pull down the forehead protector to cover his eyes. In the past, Kakashi didn't dare to reveal his Sharingan because of the lack of mana. After all, the 3-Tomo Sharingan has 3 abilities: insight, replication, and dynamic vision. As long as the eyes are open, the ability of the Sharingan will always be activated, and Kakashi's chakra will be consumed at any time. By covering the Sharingan, he can prevent the Sharingan from activating the ability of the Sharingan, and reduce the consumption of chakra. Now that he has Hinata's blue buff, Kakashi really wants to keep his Sharingan open 24 hours a day. Of course, Kakashi will never admit that he wants to show off, but it's because he can better familiarize himself with the ability of the Sharingan. After all, the sudden awakening of the Sharingan, and the acquisition of the dynamic vision ability, will inevitably cause temporary incoordination between the body and the vision. Hinata. Kakashi turned to look at Hinata. With Byakugan around, logically speaking, Kakuzu shouldn't have escaped. Hinata shrugged and said, Kakuzu ran underground, and the fire attribute clone should have used some kind of ninjutsu. I didn't notice it. Kakashi nodded and didn't dwell on this matter. He turned to Asuma and said, Asuma, you lead the team to continue searching for Kakuzu's whereabouts. That guy has lost 4 hearts. Maybe he will attack again. Hinata and I will go back and report to Naruto-sama, Asuma said in a deep voice. Good. I will inform the other teams immediately. The mission to rescue Asuma went very smoothly, and Hinata also achieved his goal. The next step is to wait patiently for things to ferment. Haiden was sucked into the space by Kakashi using Kamui, and the only person in the world who can release Haiden is probably Bordered Soil. And now Bordered Soil has no manpower in his hands, so he shouldn't give up Haiden. If things go wrong, Bordered Soil's identity will be exposed. After all, Haiden has a big mouth. But there may be another possibility. If Bordered Soil doesn't want to expose his identity, he should let Haiden starve to death in the Kamui space. The specific situation depends on Bordered Soil's next choice. Hinata walked to Kakashi's side and said proudly, Kakashi-sensei, how do you feel? Did you feel good using your Sharingan? Kakashi pulled down his forehead protector, rolled his dead fish eyes, and asked helplessly, Hinata, what happened just now? I used a method similar to Shadow Clone technique, to send my chakra into your body. Hinata said with a it's not a big deal at all look. Your chakra. Halfway through his words, Kakashi suddenly stopped. If he continues to ask, he may touch on Hinata's secret. Although the relationship between Kakashi and Hinata is good, he won't easily inquire about Hinata's secrets. Hinata, how much do you know about space-time ninjutsu? Kakashi suddenly asked. Space-time ninjutsu? Hinata said gloomily. I don't know, but I have always wanted to learn. Kakashi-sensei, why did you suddenly ask this? Kakashi pondered for a moment and explained. Hinata, do you remember the masked man we met before, I always feel that my dojutsu is very similar to his ninjutsu. Huh. Hinata looked at Kakashi with a hint of surprise. How did Kakashi suddenly become clever? He remembered that in the original work, until the final battle, Kakashi couldn't guess the true identity of bordered soil. Why did he suspect bordered soil so early? Hinata thought that it may be because his pig's foot aura affected Kakashi and increased his intelligence. After all, Naruto's pig's foot aura reduces intelligence. Listening to what you said, I also think it is very similar. Hinata nodded and said, Kakashi-sensei, why don't you try to absorb yourself and see where you will be transmitted? Hinata suddenly remembered that Kakashi's Sharingan can also enter the Kamui space. In the original work, Uchiha Madara dug out Kakashi's eyes to enter the Kamui space and take away bordered soil's Rinnegan. Kakashi felt that Hinata must want to murder him and then take the 30 million taels of silver for himself. After all, this is very Hinata. In the face of huge monetary benefits, Kakashi doesn't think that Hinata can resist the temptation. Hinata continued to remind. Kakashi-sensei, do you remember which eye the masked man revealed? It should be the right eye, right? Your Sharingan is the left eye, maybe the masked man's right eye and your Sharingan are a pair. Kakashi heard this and his whole body shook, then shook again and continued to shake. This is impossible. Kakashi excitedly refuted. That masked man didn't use Sharingan. Huh. Hinata thought for a moment. Indeed, when he fought with bordered soil didn't reveal his Sharingan, and Hinata didn't pay attention at that time. However, the seed of doubt has been planted, and the next step is to see how good Kakashi's imagination is. That's right. Hinata shrugged casually, walked forward and picked up the box left by Kakuzu, and said to himself, how did our box get here? Kakashi-sensei, let's go back. Hinata stretched out his chakra giant hand and grabbed Kakashi, and a finger coincidentally pressed on Kakashi's mouth, so that Kakashi couldn't speak, and then he flapped his wings and flew toward Shinobu. Chapter 525. Due to the perception barrier over Shinobu, Hinata could only take Kakashi to land outside Shinobu. However, the landing site was still a long way from Shinobu. If they walked, it would take at least 10 minutes. After safely putting down Kakashi, Hinata was expressionless. He pretended to inadvertently shake the box in front of Kakashi. The words Hinata Hinata were clearly engraved on the box. This is the box that I Hinata lost. It was stolen by the thief named Kakuzu. If Kakashi dares to mention the box, Hinata guarantees that he will beat Kakashi until he can't get out of bed for a month. Then he will carry the unconscious Kakashi back to Shinobu and pretend that he was seriously injured in the battle. After all, Kakashi will lie in the hospital for several weeks after every battle. Moreover, there is no one around here, and there is a certain distance from Shinobu. If he secretly makes a move, Kakashi is still very discerning. He said that he has never seen anything like a box. He looked at the sky and said, it's getting late, let's go back and report to Naruto-sama. Okay. Hinata was very satisfied and obediently followed behind Kakashi towards Shinobu. After reporting the task to Tsunade, Kakashi went alone to the back mountain of Shinobu to accompany Naruto to continue his training. Hinata carried the box back to the Hyuga residence, ready to hide his secret stash. From today onwards, I Hinata am no longer a rice worm at home. Hinata raised his head and puffed out his chest. He originally wanted to show off to Hyogo, but just as he walked to the door, Hinata suddenly stopped. The reason why the secret stash was called secret stash was because no one else knew of its existence. If Hyogo found out about the 30 million taels, then Hinata would no longer be able to spend his family's money with a clear conscience. Between showing off and holding his head high from now on and the temptation of spending his family's money, Hinata decisively chose the latter. That was how spineless he was. With a light snort, Hinata carried the box back to his room. He carefully hid the 30 million taels under his bed, and placed it together with the mackerel muscle. With money in hand, there was no need to panic. 30 million taels of silver was enough for Hinata to squander for a very long time. It was even enough to purchase a large amount of materials for the research puppet. Last time, When he got the scorpion of the Red Sands puppet technique from Orochimaru, Hinata wanted to find some time to study it. After laughing foolishly in the room for a while, Hinata took a shower and changed his clothes. Then he walked to the mountain behind Shinobu. When Hinata and Kakashi went to support Asuma, Yamato stayed here to accompany Naruto to practice. When Hinata arrived, Yamato had not left yet. "Hi." Hinata waved his hand enthusiastically. He could not hide the smile on his face. On the open ground, more than 200 Naruto were divided into groups of 3. One was responsible for maintaining, one was responsible for spinning, and one was responsible for adding changes to the nature of the wind. The practice of the Raisin Shuriken was beginning to show results. The small spinning ball faintly emitted a buzzing sound. "Hey, everyone be careful, someone else is melting Nine Tails." One of the Naruto shouted with a painful expression. "Please, Yamato-senpai." "Ah." Yamato sat in the middle of a few wooden piles and was about to form a seal. Hinata casually waved his hand and said with a smile, "Leave this kind of small matter to me." After saying that, Hinata instantly opened his Byakugan and appeared in the sealed space inside Naruto's body. In the dark and damp sewers, Nine Tails' chakra kept flowing out from the gap of the iron door. After 15 years, the 8 trigram seal that sealed Nine Tails was very loose. If the seal was not strengthened, Naruto would sooner or later be like my love, who had to stay awake at all times to suppress Nine Tails. Standing in the sewers, Hinata waved his hand and scattered Nine Tails' chakra. "Roar!" Nine Tails roared and lowered his head to glare at Hinata. Hinata shrugged indifferently. After so many years, the excuse that Hinata used to deceive Nine Tails had probably been seen through by Nine Tails. If it were not for Hinata's powerful strength and the suppression of his eye powers, Nine Tails might have controlled Naruto to tear Hinata into pieces. However, the proud nine-tailed fox would never admit that she was fooled by a little girl because of her ignorance. If Hinata took the initiative to talk to Nine Tails would also think that Hinata was Destiny's child. The two of them would deceive each other. "Hey, Kurama, be a good girl and stop messing around," Hinata coaxed in a gentle tone. Nine Tails bared his teeth and glared at Hinata before lying on the ground again. Hinata asked curiously, "Speaking of which, Nine Tails, why don't you agree with Naruto?" Nine Tails snorted and closed his eyes. "Tell me." Hinata didn't want to let him go. Hinata had a guess. In the original work, when Naruto entered Nine Tails' chakra mode, he gained the ability to sense malice. Based on this, Nine Tails should be able to sense the goodwill of others. Perhaps this was the reason why Nine Tails was willing to agree with Hinata. Even if Hinata did not bump fists with Nine Tails should be able to sense the goodwill in Hinata's heart. After all, Hinata really liked Nine Tails. As for Naruto, in fact, with Naruto's personality, he might not have any prejudice against Nine Tails. However, at this time, Naruto hoped to use Nine Tails' power to achieve certain goals, such as recovering Sasuke. He did not really agree with Nine Tails' existence. Moreover, Nine Tails should not be interested in the weak and mentally retarded Naruto now. Seeing that Nine Tails was unwilling to talk to him, Hinata stuck his tongue out at Nine Tails, and then left the sealed space. In the real world, Nine Tails Naruto had calmed down. He lowered his head and touched his stomach. Then he looked up at Hinata and said, "Hinata, Sensei Kakashi, you're back." Kakashi went over in a flash. It seems that the practice of the new technique has been quite effective. Naruto clenched his fists and said excitedly, "I feel that in a few days, I can develop this technique." At the same time, in a base of the organizations, the seal of Nibi will take 3 days, and the location of Sanbai has been found. Pain looked around and said lightly, "The opponent is a wild-tailed beast, Ghost Mackerel. Your ninjutsu is more suitable." Ghost Mackerel said indifferently, "Leave it to me." As the two of them spoke, everyone in the organizations focused their eyes on Kakuzu at the same time. "You're really embarrassed, Kakuzu." Orochimaru was the first to mock. "In just a few days, we have already lost 2 people. No. Pain glanced at Orochimaru and said in a deep voice, "Haiden is not dead yet." As soon as his voice fell, a figure flashed in the position belonging to Haiden. and Haiden stood on the finger of the Geto Mazo intact. He glared at Orochimaru and shouted, "I knew you must be secretly talking bad about me behind my back." Chapter 526. Orochimaru looked at Haiden with a playful expression and asked with a smile, "Haiden, I heard that you were sucked away by Kakashi's dojutsu. What? Did he release you again?" Haiden snorted coldly and said disdainfully, "Who knows what that guy is doing? At first, I was indeed sucked into a mysterious space, and there was nothing around me. But when I woke up, I found that I was lying in a jungle in the land of River." In the end, Fei Duan's face was also full of confusion. Everyone turned to look at Pain when they heard this. Seeing this, Pain said lightly, "I found out that Haiden was still alive through the organization's ring." Orochimaru's eyes were slightly dazed, and he looked at Haiden and Pain quietly. A few hours ago, Hinata contacted Orochimaru urgently and talked about his battle with the undead duo, and asked Orochimaru to find a way to expose the true identity of Bordered Soil. However, Bordered Soil was obviously very cautious, and he released Haiden while he was sleeping in the Kamui space. Without exposing his own purpose, Orochimaru could only guide the organizations to speculate from the side. Orochimaru's eyes moved slightly, and he said casually, "I heard that Kakashi's left eye was once the eye of Uchiha Bordered Soil. I didn't expect that Kakashi, who is not a Uchiha, not only opened Mangekyo, but also has a rare space ability." At the same time, Orochimaru looked sideways at the new member of the organization standing beside him, Hoodlum, who joined Akatsuki not long ago and replaced Sasori of the Red Sands position. Because of the mask, Orochimaru couldn't see the expression of Bordered Soil at the moment, but it must be very ugly. Pain also turned to look at Bordered Soil, and a trace of suspicion flashed in his eyes. This is too much of a coincidence. Kakashi's left eye and the right eye of this mysterious man who called himself Uchiha Madara both possessed a very rare and similar spacetime eye technique. If it weren't for the example of Itachi Uchiha, Pain could be sure at this moment that the guy who had always claimed to be Uchiha Madara was actually Uchiha Bordered Soil impersonator. After all, Itachi Uchiha's left eye and right eye possessed two completely different types of eye techniques. Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu, one had the strongest illusion attack, while the other had the strongest physical attack. Seeing that everyone was talking about the Sharingan, Haiden shouted in dissatisfaction, "Hey! I say, you guys, this isn't the main point right now, right? I was almost killed by Shinobu's people, and it was for something as boring as collecting tailed beasts and earning money. I still have my own matters to attend to. I don't intend to completely devote myself to the organization," Pain said solemnly. "Since we belong to the Akatsuki organization, we should work together to achieve our goal. Once Akatsuki's goal is achieved, my personal goal is also achieved." Indeed. Akatsuki's current goal is indeed to collect tailed beasts and earn money, but Akatsuki's fundamental goal is not this. For that purpose, we must have a lot of money. After saying that, Pain explained his plan in detail, as well as what Akatsuki was going to do next. To establish an organization in the ninja world that is responsible for war. Compared to the big countries with powerful ninja villages, the employment of ninja accounts for a large proportion of their national income. Ninja villages earn huge wealth by participating in wars at home and abroad, and even become the economic pillar of the country. Even in this relatively peaceful era, the commissioned tasks of the 5 major ninja countries can still earn a lot of money. However, small countries can't. Without strong enough ninjas and enough prestige, small ninja villages often find it difficult to survive in peaceful times. Some small ninja villages even take the initiative to provoke wars in order to earn enough money. Karen's tragedy originated from this. When the big countries stopped fighting and the ninja world was relatively peaceful, many people no longer needed the protection of ninja. For small villages like Kusanagi village, the number of tasks entrusted will be greatly reduced. In order to get enough tasks entrusted to the village, they have to provoke chaos in the ninja world. Pain wants to use the tailed beasts in the war, and even use the power of the tailed beasts to dominate the war. In this way, the ninja village system of the big countries will collapse. When the world was in chaos, Pain continued to use the power of the tailed beasts to conquer the world. It has to be said that even if Hinata stood here and listened to Pain's analysis, he would feel that it was very reasonable. Ninja villages in times of war tend to be the most prosperous. Because the rich people in times of war can only hire ninjas to protect themselves in order to live a stable life in troubled times. In times of peace, except for a few big ninja villages such as Shinobu and Kimo, most ninja villages can't make ends meet, and they even have to rely on the national finance to barely maintain the scale of the ninja village. For example, the Sand-Hidden Village even has to take the initiative to reduce the number of ninjas to reduce the village's expenses. However, Orochimaru disdained Pain's idea. Even 3 years ago, Orochimaru didn't think that Pain's plan had the slightest chance of success. His analysis was as fierce as a tiger, looking at the record of 0 to 9. For the ninja village's economy, war can indeed promote economic prosperity. Even Shinobu, who keeps saying that they love peace, has profited from war. The ninja war is not a large-scale military war, but mainly assassination and destruction, which can pose a great threat to the civilians of a country. However, the world is tired of war. Even ninjas themselves don't want to go to war. Because of this, the ninja world has been peaceful for so many years after the end of the Third World War, and the major ninja villages have also maintained relative restraint. The world is progressing, and the ninjas' ideas are also progressing, but Pain's ideas have been stuck in the period of World War II and World War III. Pain wants to start a war and dominate the war. However, this war is a war between Pain and the whole world. In Orochimaru's view, Pain is just a fool who doesn't understand the current era, doesn't understand ninjas' ideas, and calls himself a god. After planning the collapse of Shinobu, Orochimaru has already seen this point. In contrast, Orochimaru admires Hinata's willingness to stay in Shinobu. After cleaning up Danzo, Hinata's power is not only a hindrance to Shinobu, but also a pillar of support for Shinobu. Even if the Naruto clan is afraid of the increasingly powerful Hyuga clan, Shinobu still needs Hinata's power to stabilize the situation. Leaving Shinobu and establishing his own clan is not as beneficial as being relied on by Shinobu. With a sneer, Orochimaru turned to look at Bordered Soil standing beside him, only to find that the right eye under Bordered Soil's mask was also staring at him. The right eye of the orange mask was dark, but even if he couldn't see anything there, Orochimaru still felt the strong killing intent of Bordered Soil towards him. Haha! With a chuckle, Orochimaru's eyes showed a hint of provocation. Uchiha. Bordered Soil. When Kakashi can use the ability of Mangekyo at will, your identity can no longer stand up to scrutiny. What are you going to do next? Chapter 527. Ding dong. The doorbell rang. Hinata stood at the door and waited for a moment. The wooden door was pushed open from the inside. Naruto had messy hair and sleepy eyes. He was holding a bowl of steaming hot instant noodles. Hi your head. Why are you eating this when you wake up? Hinata, don't you have no mission today? Why are you looking for me so early? What's the matter? It's already noon. It had been 2 days since Naruto learned the Raisin Shuriken. The new skill was very powerful, but for Naruto who did not have a strong control over chakra, the Raisin Shuriken was still a forbidden move. The Raisin Shuriken that could not be thrown was like the 7 injuring fist. It would hurt the enemy and hurt the user. Hinata tiptoed and said with an unhappy face, "Let's not talk about this first. Go wash your face and change your clothes. I'll wait for you here." Hearing this, Naruto was a little excited and blurted out, "Huh? Is it a date?" "Idiot," Hinata said angrily. "It's Tsunade-sama who wants to see us." Naruto's building. So slow. Tsunade stood by the window and complained to Jiraiya. "Why are you so slow? What the hell?" Creak. The door of the office was opened. Hinata and Naruto walked in side by side. "Hey, Lascivious Immortal is here too?" Jiraiya smiled. "Long time no see, Naruto." Hinata sighed and asked, You called us here together. Is there a mission?" "Yes." Tsunade turned around and said in a serious tone. "According to our latest information, we have found the location of the three-tailed beast, and, this time, it's not only Akatsuki that took action, Some people also saw Sasuke appear in the vicinity. Naruto was stunned and muttered, "Sasuke," Jiraiya replied. "It can't be wrong. The source of the information this time is very reliable." Tsunade continued, "Sasuke's goal is to take revenge on Itachi Uchiha. If Sasuke is there, it means that the organizations are targeting Itachi Uchiha and dried persimmon mackerel." Ha! Hinata scratched his head. He felt that something was wrong. In fact, Hinata knew about this information earlier than Tsunade. The people that Dawn sent to capture the Sanbai were Itachi Uchiha and dried persimmon mackerel. And Sasuke also got the information about Itachi and appeared near the area where the three-tailed beast was active. But the organizations are determined to get the tailed beast. Comparing the strength on the surface, the probability of the organizations getting the three-tailed beast is very low. Especially when the three-tailed beast is still in a wild state. It is not so easy to take the three-tailed beast away. In addition, Hinata has already informed Black Zetsu. Shinobu has been investigating the whereabouts of the three-tailed beast, and it is likely that he will also participate in the battle for the three-tailed beast. Shinobu's participation in the battle means that Hinata will also participate in the battle. With only Itachi Uchiha and dried persimmon mackerel, it's more likely that they will die. What's wrong, Hinata? Seeing Hinata's absent-minded look, Tsunade asked curiously, "Did you think of something?" "No." Hinata shook his head and then asked, "How do we deal with the three-tailed beast?" Although the three-tailed beast is originally the mist-tailed beast, and the Jinchuriki can increase the combat power of the village, it should be difficult for the mist to protect the three-tailed beast, right? Unless, from Shinobu's point of view, since the three-tailed beast is now in a wild state, the best way to deal with the three-tailed beast is to kill it. As long as the three-tailed beast is dead, the organization's plan will be delayed for at least 10 years. Tsunade and Jiraiya looked at each other and said in a dignified tone, "I know what you mean. We originally planned to do the same. But the mist doesn't agree." Hinata was surprised. "Is the mist going to participate in the battle for the three-tailed beast?" "Yes." Tsunade nodded. "The mist and we have the same goal, and the Akatsuki is our enemy. We are currently sharing information about the Akatsuki." After a pause, Tsunade frowned. For a ninja village, many things can't be decided by Kage alone. Some ninjas in the mist think that in today's troubled world, the three-tailed beast can increase the strength of the mist and better protect the village. Hinata curled his lips. "Okay. If that's the case, the three-tailed beast will fall into the hands of the organizations. The mist's current situation is a little better than the Sans, and the only ninja who can support the overall situation is Mei. Last year, the mist suffered some losses in the battle for the Edo Tensei, and even Ao died in the hands of Orochimaru." After thinking about it, Hinata continued to ask, "What about Shinobu? Will we help the mist to capture the three-tailed beast?" Tsunade nodded. In order to stabilize the international situation, Shinobu can only help the mist. "Have you considered the three-tailed beast's opinion?" Hearing Tsunade's words, Hinata was relieved. Since the three-tailed beast is no problem, the most important thing for Hinata now is to help Sasuke to open his Mangekyo. "I know. When will we leave?" Hinata asked. Tsunade said, "There's no time to lose. Go back and prepare immediately, and gather at Shinobu's gate in an hour." Hinata hesitated. Just me and Naruto?" "Me too." Jiraiya coughed softly and said, "This time it's a matter of great importance. Akatsuki's action may not be that simple, so I will go with you." "Great." Naruto clenched his fists and said excitedly, "With lascivious sage, this mission will be no problem." Back at the Hyuga residence, Hinata packed up his ninja equipment, opened the Tensigen and connected to the artificial satellite, and found the location of Itachi Uchiha. Seeing that Ghost Mackerel wasn't around, Hinata quickly said, "Brother Itachi, Shinobu sent me, Jiraiya, and Naruto to help the mist to capture the three-tailed beast. What do you organizations plan to do?" "Is that so?" Itachi Uchiha calmly said. "The Akatsuki only sent me and Ghost Mackerel." After a pause, Itachi Uchiha also had some doubts. But the Akatsuki already knew that Shinobu is investigating the three-tailed beast, and once Shinobu finds the three-tailed beast's trace, Shinobu will definitely send you to act. It's definitely not a wise move to snatch the three-tailed beast. Hinata hesitated and guessed, Brother Itachi, I just heard from the fifth Dame-sama that the mist intends to reseal the three-tailed beast. The masked guy used the Sharingan to control the fourth Mizukage. Maybe he left some forces in the mist. Itachi Uchiha heard this and said, It's possible. And with the current international situation, Shinobu can't refuse the proposal of the mist. Hinata was a little relieved and said, There is one more thing. Brother Itachi, I heard that Sasuke also appeared near the three-tailed beast. Are you ready? Chapter 528. Itachi Uchiha was silent. For Itachi, Sasuke is the only hope in his life. He can destroy his family for Shinobu, but in any case he doesn't want to kill Sasuke. Why does it feel so weird? In fact, thinking about the events of that year, the Uchiha clan's coup d'etat was impossible to succeed. The Uchiha clan's enemies were not only the Hokage, but also many clans in Konoha. Even if Itachi and Shisui are on the side of their families, Shinobu still has Jiraiya and Tsunade. Once the Uchiha clan launches a coup d'etat, the three generations will definitely secretly recall the Sannin and gather the strongest forces of Shinobu. In the case of the coup d'etat, Itachi Uchiha chose to save the village, and at the same time save the only bloodline of the Uchiha family. It can only be said that he has no choice. If there is a choice, who would be willing to kill their loved ones? And Itachi Uchiha responded, he has been waiting for this day for 8 years. As early as the moment he destroyed the Uchiha clan, he was already prepared to face Sasuke. Now perhaps this is the best result. That's good. After exchanging information with Itachi Uchiha, Hinata also had a rough judgment of the following situation. Packing up the ninja equipment, Hinata left the Hyuga residence and ran towards Shinobu's gate. Jiraiya has already arrived. After seeing Hinata, he smiled and said hello. Hey! It's rare that our Hinata-sama didn't throw a tantrum this time. Hinata snorted softly and leaned against the door frame with his eyes closed. Too lazy to pay attention to this old pervert. The current situation of the ninja world has changed a lot compared to the original. Who knows what the Toad Sage of Mount Myaboku will say to Jiraiya? That old toad had the ability of prophecy. Perhaps it could see some scenes of the future in its sleep. What's more, the soul of the Sage of the Six Paths has been residing in the shinobi world for a long time, so he might have a connection with the great Toad Sage. Jiraiya didn't care about Hinata's attitude at all, or rather, he was already used to it. Jiraiya had no luck with women unless he spent money. Alas! Jiraiya sighed and suddenly became serious. I didn't expect that in just 3 years, the ninja world has become so chaotic. Jiraiya forced a reply, and Hinata could only open his eyes. He curled his lips and said, Lecherous immortal. You should be used to this kind of thing, right? You have experienced the Second World War and the Third World War. Do you also feel that the current ninja world is very chaotic? Jiraiya said bitterly. Who can get used to war? That's true, Hinata said faintly. Although ninjas are associated with killing and war, ninjas also have peace in their hearts. This road may be very difficult, but a peaceful world doesn't need ninjas. Hinata had read the discussion about the legend of Bo on the internet in his previous life. When technology flourishes in the ninja world, the importance of ninjas will naturally gradually decrease. And ninjas don't work in production, they don't understand economics, and they have nothing to do except fighting. This view is different from what you had 3 years ago. Jiraiya's face became serious. It is precisely because this road will be very difficult that we need to work harder. Hinata said indifferently, people will always change, maybe it's because we have experienced more things. Jiraiya curiously asked, Oh? What kind of life events can a little girl like you experience? It's not a big deal. Hinata chuckled. But most of the time, it's often only small things that change us. Speaking of this, Hinata looked up at the sky and said in an ethereal tone, Take this incident with the Sanbai, for example, the organizations want to capture the Sanbai, and the Mist also want to get the Sanbai, and as an ally of the Mist, Shinobu will definitely support the Mist. But Three Tails is also a life form with intelligence and self-awareness. Since its resurrection, It has never caused any trouble. But we never consider the Sanbai's opinion, and the mist even regards the Sanbai as a private property, Hinata sneered. How arrogant. It was the first Naruto who forcibly sealed the Nine Tails, and then the Nine Tails broke the seal to retaliate against Shinobu. But Shinobu never considered the cause and effect of the matter, and only pushed everything to the Nine Tails, and even called the Nine Tails a demon fox, and even Naruto was implicated as a result. Even the fourth Naruto, who is known as a hero, sacrificed his life to seal the Nine Tails for Shinobu, just to let Shinobu regain his Jinchuriki. But what about the Nine Tails? It never belonged to Shinobu. It was the first Shinobu who took the Nine Tails, and over time, it was regarded as a private property by Shinobu. Turning his gaze to Jiraiya, Hinata said lightly, "In my opinion, there is no difference between the 5 great shinobi villages and the Akatsuki when it comes to dealing with the tailed beasts. They claim to be righteous, but because there are many of them. Of course, as a shinobu, we don't need to consider whether this matter is righteous or not, as long as it is beneficial to Shinobu." Jiraiya looked deeply at Hinata, and then fell silent. It is undeniable that the shinobi have never considered the idea of the tailed beasts. Since the first 5 Kage summit, the shinobi villages have regarded the tailed beasts as private property, and Hinata's last sentence made Jiraiya even more shocked. Indeed, maybe what we are doing is not absolutely right. After a long time, Jiraiya said, "For the so-called situation of the shinobi world, for the so-called peace, we have indeed done a lot of wrong things. But because we have done wrong in the past, we should find a new path instead of holding on to the mistakes of the past." Hinata looked up at Jiraiya and chuckled. "I think so too. And I have found the path that belongs to me." Speaking of this, Hinata stared straight into Jiraiya's eyes. "You have your path, I have my path. So when our paths are different, how will you choose?" Jiraiya flashed Hinata's eyes, and for the first time he didn't dare to look directly into Hinata's eyes. After living for so many years, even if Jiraiya is an idealist, he knows deeply that when two people have different ideas and can't convince each other, the only thing left is war. "Just kidding." Hinata suddenly chuckled. "I just want to live comfortably and ignore all the troubles. How can I find a new path?" Putting his hands behind his head, Hinata smiled and said, "If it weren't for Shinobu, I would be too lazy to carry out the task." Whoosh. In a flash, Naruto appeared in front of Shinobu's gate. Feeling that the atmosphere was a bit strange, Naruto was stunned. "Huh? Hinata, did the horny sage bully you?" "Pa." Jiraiya angrily slapped the back of Naruto's head, and said with an unhappy expression, "What are you talking about? As a senpai, how can I bully a little girl? Don't ruin my reputation everywhere. Since everyone is here, let's go." Chapter 529. Somewhere in the water country. Thick cumulonimbus clouds covered the sky, firmly blocking the sunlight, and the forest was covered by a thick fog. Under the dark clouds, the wind and rain hit the ground, and the waves surged in the distance. Jiraiya stood at the entrance of the cave with a huge scroll on his back, looking through the rain. The storm lasted for so long. The power of the Sanbai is really amazing. Hinata and Naruto sat around the fire, fiddling with grilled fish that exuded a tempting aroma. After hearing Jiraiya's words, Hinata turned her head and asked, "Then when are we going to act?" It has been 2 days since they came to the water country, and Shinobu has already known the location of the Sanbai. Jiraiya is responsible for contacting the Mist Village, and he heard that the sealing ceremony has been prepared. Jiraiya explained, "The Sanbai is hiding at the bottom of a lake in the northeast area of the island. If the Sanbai doesn't take the initiative to come out, it would be unwise to fight the Sanbai underwater." "The Mist Village is thinking of a way," Naruto shouted. "What should we do?" Jiraiya sighed and said, "The Mist Village is responsible for the sealing of the Sanbai. Our task is to guard against the organization's sneak attack while they are sealing the Sanbai." After that, Jiraiya walked back to the cave and sat next to the fire. He wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth and said with a smile, "Well, let's not talk about this smell. Oh, it should be cooked, right?" Naruto lowered his head slightly, thinking about Sasuke. Sasuke also appeared near the Sanbai, He should be looking for the whereabouts of Itachi Uchiha. If Sasuke took revenge, thinking of this, Naruto was very sad. Sasuke can no longer return to Shinobu. Even if Naruto can take Sasuke back, what awaits Sasuke is only life imprisonment. Looking at Jiraiya, Naruto couldn't help but ask, "Lascivious sage, you and Orochimaru?" Jiraiya put down the grilled fish, patted Naruto's shoulder, sighed and began to comfort Naruto. Hinata listened while eating the grilled fish. "Since you don't want to eat, then I won't be polite." Jiraiya is an idealist. The future he hopes for is undoubtedly very good. But he can't realize his ideals. He has no ability, nor a mature plan. But Jiraiya has never given up hope. Even if the road ahead is full of confusion, he will find the only way out in the midst of confusion. Such a person is undoubtedly worthy of respect. Thinking of the conversation with Jiraiya a few days ago at Shinobu's gate, Hinata fell silent for a moment. Hinata's words may have been said on a whim, but more than that, it was also Hinata's true thoughts. After graduating for 3 years, Hinata can be considered to have seen some of the world. Coupled with his views and analysis of Naruto in his previous life, Hinata has a certain understanding of this world. Without a doubt, if a world wants to progress, it can't lack people like Jiraiya and Naruto. Even if this world has many flaws and is imperfect in many areas, we can't blame the heavens and blame others, let alone complain about the past. Instead, we have to set our minds right and work hard to create a better future. Since we have done wrong in the past, we have to work hard to correct these mistakes now. Munch munch. Wow. Hinata, you are too cunning. Naruto suddenly complained loudly. You actually ate all the grilled fish while I was talking to the lecherous immortal. Hinata. Hearing Naruto's complaints, Hinata came back to his senses and looked at the fish bones on the ground, his expression slightly awkward. Hinata felt awkward, not because he stole Naruto and Jiraiya's rations, but because Hinata didn't care about this at all. What really made Hinata feel awkward was he had already decided not to overeat in front of others, and tried his best to pretend to be a gentle and cute lady, but he didn't expect that he would reveal his true colors in a moment of carelessness. Boom. The outside of the cave suddenly lit up, followed by the deafening sound of thunder. In the whistling storm, the rain became heavier. This rain. Hinata turned his head to look at the entrance of the cave, and then looked at Jiraiya. Lecherous immortal, do you feel it? This rain seems to contain chakra. Jiraiya got up and walked to the entrance of the cave. He reached out and touched the rain, and his frown became tighter. Hinata, what do you think? Hinata, I am not Yuan Fong. Looking around, except for Naruto, he was the only one left in the cave. Hinata suddenly understood Jiraiya's helplessness. Discussing things with Naruto is definitely the best choice. After thinking about it, Hinata said, this should be some kind of perceptual ninjutsu. It seems that there are hidden enemies nearby. Naruto wondered, why are they enemies? Using the rain to perceive. Is this the ninjutsu of the mist? It's not impossible. Jiraiya frowned and said, but I have fought with the mist ninjas. They shouldn't have this ninjutsu. And to manipulate such a large area of rain, it requires a lot of chakra. Although Jiraiya said it euphemistically, the meaning was obvious. The mist can't do this at all. Is it pain? Hinata thought. Could it be that my previous guess was wrong? Organizations don't want to use the mist to capture the Sanbai, but Pain did it himself? Jiraiya whispered, Hinata. Understood. Using the Byakugan, the black and white world became particularly clear, but the rain with chakra hindered the detection of the Byakugan. This is the limitation of the Byakugan. No, Hinata said. The rain with chakra. I can't see anything at all. Even the mist and the Sanbai disappeared from my sight. Not good. Jiraiya's voice was heavy, mixed with rapid breathing. The Akatsuki should be moving. The rain mixed with chakra is not for perception at all, but to block the detection of the Byakugan. Hinata Naruto. We have to rush to the lake where the Sanbai is. After that, Jiraiya rushed out of the cave. Hinata and Naruto looked at each other, and followed closely behind Jiraiya, running toward the lake where the Sanbai was. Rumble. Even in the storm, Hinata could clearly hear the rumbling of Naruto's stomach. Turning his head, Naruto was looking at Hinata with a sad expression. Hinata helplessly spread his hands and said loudly, "The situation is urgent. Even if I leave you some food, you don't have time to eat. Instead of wasting food, it's better for me to eat it all and replenish my energy." The rest of the words couldn't be heard clearly. Boom. There was a loud explosion. Even in the rain, Hinata and the other two could clearly see the water that rose into the sky in the distance, and the ground trembled. Jiraiya urged, "We have to speed up." Chapter 530. Heavy rain. The extremely bad weather, filled with Chakra's rain, completely blocked the Byakugan's perception ability. The Byakugan can see the chakra flow in the ninja's body, but it can't see through chakra. Otherwise, the identity of the bordered soil would have been exposed. Fortunately, Hinata had more than one perception ability. Natural perception. Hinata was glad that he never exposed his natural perception ability in front of people. Otherwise, Pain might have other ways to block Hinata's natural perception. However, even so, in this bad environment, natural perception ability was also greatly weakened. Hinata spread out his natural chakra to perceive the situation. The Mists were attacked by the organizations. The Mists team was led by Mei, and the Akatsuki's team should be led by Konan. The two sides were currently fighting fiercely. Ghost Mackerel and Itachi were fighting the Sanbai, and the Sanbai's situation wasn't optimistic. The Sanbai's destructive power was indeed strong, but the ninja's strength was never in the range of ninjutsu. Ghost Mackerel was trying to find a way to make the Sanbai surface. Once the Sanbai appeared, Itachi Uchiha only needed to use Amaterasu to easily capture the Sanbai. So, if the organizations wanted to capture the Sanbai, they only needed to delay Hinata's team, and buy some time for Ghost Mackerel and Itachi. Sasuke hasn't shown up yet, but when Sasuke sensed the movement here, he would probably act. Where is Pain? Hinata frowned slightly, and spread out his natural perception ability, but he still couldn't find the location of Pain or Nagato. Jiraiya quickly walked through the woods. Although his face was calm, there was a hint of anxiety between his eyebrows. He didn't expect the organizations to act at this time. The island where the Sanbai was located wasn't the main island of the water country, but an unknown island nearby. In the past 2 days, Shinobu and the Mist had investigated the island several times, but they couldn't find the organizations. Jiraiya didn't expect the Akatsuki to come so fast, and as soon as they arrived on the island, they didn't investigate the Sanbai's state, and directly launched an attack. Sanin. In the rainstorm, Hinata said loudly, "The Akatsuki shouldn't let us get close to the Sanbai." Jiraiya slowed down his pace and asked, "Hinata, are there any Akatsuki people around us?" "None." Hinata shook his head. Jiraiya pondered for a moment and said, "Don't worry about it. Our mission is to stop Akatsuki from capturing Sanbai." As soon as Jiraiya's voice fell, in Hinata's natural perception, 6 chakras of the same origin suddenly appeared out of thin air 100 meters ahead. Not only Pain, but even 2 was mobilized this time. What's their plan? Hinata secretly analyzed. If it's just to capture the Sanbai, why would the organization spend so much effort? Hinata didn't think there was anything wrong with his previous analysis. If the Akatsuki just wanted to capture the Sanbai, they could wait until the Mist sealed the Sanbai, and it would be easier at that time. Bordered Soil, Pain, Konan, Ghost Mackerel, and Itachi didn't look like they were here for the Sanbai. Rumble. The dark clouds in the sky were very low, so oppressive that it made people restless. From time to time, there would be a sudden flash of lightning, lighting up the dusky world. Accompanied by the deafening sound of thunder, a vast repulsive force surged forward like a tidal wave. Wherever the repulsive force passed, broken wood, rain, wind, and gravel mixed together to form a storm, and the ground was at least a few meters deep because of this force. Not good. Jiraiya roared, and his long hair instantly grew long, tightly wrapping Hinata and Naruto, but he himself was exposed, facing the impact of Shinra Tensei's repulsive force. Before the white hair was about to wrap Hinata's body, Hinata stretched out his white and tender hand, and a giant chakra hand stretched out from Hinata's small hand, grabbing Jiraiya and protecting Jiraiya. Rumble. The repulsive force swept over, and Hinata and the other two were like a lonely boat in the storm, and they were instantly bounced by this huge force. The mixture of broken wood, rain, wind, and gravel was like a tornado, sweeping Hinata and the other two into it. Wrapped in Jiraiya's hair, Hinata could clearly hear the dense chi-chi sound coming from outside. Hinata's whole body was like a roller coaster, and he flew more than 100 meters before stopping, crushed by a pile of broken wood and soil. Cough cough. Jiraiya's muffled voice came. Hinata, Naruto, are you okay? Naruto growled. I'm fine. I'm fine too. Hinata adjusted his chakra, and then shouted, Lecherous immortal Naruto, don't move. After saying that, Hinata's chakra hand, which was originally holding Jiraiya, condensed invisible chakra meridians and acupoints, and a dozen small palms appeared on the back of the chakra hand. 8 trigrams, consecutive air palms. Boom 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 boom. Dense explosions rang out continuously, and the broken wood, soil and boulders that were crushing Hinata and the other two were instantly blown into powder by the consecutive air palms. The surrounding debris was also pushed further away by the aftermath of the explosion. Hinata, Naruto, and Jiraiya appeared on the flat ground pushed by the repulsive force at the same time. Through the curtain of rain, 6 figures wearing black with red clouds stood more than 100 meters in front of Hinata and the other two. Tendo, who was standing in the center position, slowly put down his hands, and a pair of lavender Rinnegan looked indifferently at Hinata and the other two. Jiraiya said in a deep voice, It's the leader of Akatsuki. Years of ninja experience told Jiraiya that this time, the leader of organizations was personally dispatched, and the purpose couldn't be as simple as the sanbai. He looked at the two people behind him. Hinata, known as the only peerless powerhouse in the ninja world, who can tie with the leader of organizations with Rinnegan. Uzumaki Naruto, the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails. Jiraiya knew very well that the value of the two people behind him was far greater than that of the sanbai. Naruto's importance was needless to say. As for Hinata, don't look at Hinata all day long, and the Hyuga clan seems to have some ideas, but the existence of Hinata can be said to be the only key to maintaining the balance of the ninja world at present. Especially this ninja world has been destroyed by Orochimaru. How many people in the ninja world are looking forward to Hinata dying together with the leader of organizations like Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama? As long as this idea exists, the villages of the ninja world will maintain a relatively balanced state, and there will be no 4th Ninja World War because of the competition for the Edo Tensei. Hinata, Naruto, you two be careful, Jiraiya said in a deep voice. Hinata, can you communicate with the 9 tails? We may need the power of the 9 tails. Hinata's eyes lit up when he heard this. The legendary Jinchuriki of the 9 tails, Hinata, seems to have not appeared for a long time. Chapter 531. For a long time, although Pain rarely appeared in the shinobi world, the legend of this man has been circulating in the shinobi world. Since the battle with Hinata, Pain and Hinata seem to have become destined enemies, and that battle has been described in various versions by people in the shinobi world. And compared to those ordinary people, Jiraiya knows more about Rinnegan, especially after seeing the illusion about Indra arranged by Black Zetsu. Jiraiya is even more determined to track down the organizations and investigate the secrets of the shinobi world from thousands of years ago. In Jiraiya's view, the so-called old enemies may not be empty words. Maybe one day in the future, Hinata, Naruto, and maybe Sasuke will all stand on the opposite side of Pain, and the winner of both sides will determine the future of the shinobi world. But at this moment, it's not the best time to decide the victory, because Naruto hasn't fully grown yet. In this battle he must rely on the power of 9 tails. Hinata opened the Byakugan and entered the sealed space in Naruto's body. In the sewer cell, 9 tails has stood up, and a pair of scarlet eyes flashed with the light of wanting to devour people. 9 tails, Dage, do you feel it too? Hinata said with a serious face. This time the enemy has Rinnegan. We must rely on your strength to defeat the other side. 9 tails. When there's nothing to do, you call me Hatchet, but now you call me 9 tails, Dage. Hinata, where's your integrity? Roar. 9 tails roared and a low voice sounded. These eyes actually appeared. Kid. Who is the person outside? The 8-trigram seal became more and more loose, and Ninetales could already perceive the situation outside through the seal. Rinnegan, the legendary eyes of the Six Paths Sun Nin. The appearance of these eyes made Ninetales realize that maybe the era mentioned by the Six Paths Sun Nin is really coming. Kid. Ghost? Hinata gritted his teeth. Okay. Now I'm asking you to do something, you're the boss. But wait for me. I won't ask you every time. In fact, if it weren't for Jiraiya's words, Hinata wouldn't have come to find Ninetales. After all, Hinata's strength has completely surpassed Pain. But it's still good to hide his trump card. After all, soon after the Akatsuki gathered all the tailed beasts, Hinata would have a decisive battle with Pain. Tensegan's ability is the key to controlling Pain, and it can't be easily exposed now. That person is the leader of. You should have heard of the Akatsuki, right? It's the evil organization that wanted to capture Naruto and take you away. Hinata showed a scared expression, as if a mother was telling the story of the boy who cried wolf to her baby. Big brother Ninetales, let me tell you. That person can already summon the outer Dao demon statue. Once you are captured by them and sealed in the Ghetto Mazo, you will completely lose yourself and your will be completely suppressed. This is not the same as you being sealed in Naruto. Ninetales heard this and said angrily, You don't need to say that. Even if the nine-tailed beast was separated from the 10-tailed beast, the nine-tailed beast had existed independently for thousands of years. It had its own independent will, and no one was more afraid of being sealed by the Ghetto Mazo than the nine-tailed beast. Hinata made a heavy blow. Now Ichibi and Nibi have been sealed by the Ghetto Mazo, and the Rinnegan is preparing to capture Sanbai. Ninetales. Without your power, we are definitely not his opponent. Ninetales didn't look at Hinata. His eyes looked behind Hinata, as if he could see the outside world through the sealed space. After a while, Ninetales snorted softly and lay on the ground again. I know. With Ninetales' promise, Hinata was also relieved. In this way, Hinata can perfectly show weakness to the enemy and give Pain the illusion that, I have to use the power of Ninetales to defeat him. Let Pain the god inflate first, lest he be attacked by Hinata and doubt himself. Hinata heard from Black Zetsu that after the last battle between Nagato and Hinata, Nagato really had self-doubt. Bordered Soil comforted Nagato for a while to cheer him up. Pain's attack this time seems to be full of confidence. He is likely to use the power of the Ghetto Mazo. Now that the Ghetto Mazo has Ichibi and Nibi's chakra, not only is it more powerful, but it will also be much easier to control. Exiting the sealed space of Ninetales, Hinata nodded slightly, indicating to Jiraiya that he had talked to Ninetales. Jiraiya was relieved when he saw this. If he can use the power of Ninetales, the danger of today's battle will not be great. 100 meters away from Hinata's trio, Tendo Pain looked indifferently at the somewhat blurred white figure standing in the storm. Hyuga. Hinata. Tendo's voice was very soft. In the stormy weather, Hinata could only see Pain's lips move slightly through the Byakugan. Without much conversation, after Tendo Pain read out Hinata's name, Animal Path Pain quickly printed with both hands, and then pressed one hand on the ground. Bang bang bang. A huge cloud of smoke emerged, and the roar of beasts came out of the white smoke. The 5 psychic beasts, Hell Crab, Chameleon, Splitting Hound, Yatatoru, and Centipede surrounded Hinata's trio in a fan shape. Jiraiya bit his finger, and quickly printed with both hands. Psychic Technique. Naruto also bit his finger and followed Jiraiya to cast Psychic Technique. Unlike Jiraiya's Psychic Gamma Bunta, and Gamma Bunta, Naruto's Psychic Dragon has grown up. Hey, Naruto, Jiraiya, how are you? And this little girl, how are you? The Toad Dragon seemed to be very educated. After politely greeting everyone, it noticed the 3 big toads not far away, and immediately said in a panic, Dad, Uncle Gamma Bunta, Uncle Jien, why are you also psychic? I thought I could finally do something big. Naruto was very embarrassed. Jiraiya said in a low voice, the opponent this time is very strong. Everyone please. The 3 big toads drew their weapons at the same time. Gamma Bunta glanced at the Toad Dragon and shouted, Toad Dragon, hide at the side. Yes. The Toad Dragon jumped and retreated strategically. Bang. Without any tricks, the 8 large psychic beasts started fighting directly. Whoosh! Shura Dao Pain had completed his transformation. A missile was created, and it shot towards Hinata's trio with flames. This style, it was very scientific, but it was not ninja at all. Be careful! Hinata shouted, and with one hand, she smashed the missile in mid-air. Boom! The flames of the missile's explosion were quickly extinguished by the heavy rain. In the white smoke, an orange-haired figure wearing a black robe with red clouds on it jumped out of the smoke and flew towards Hinata's trio expressionlessly. It was the Beast Path. Chapter 532. Using Shirato's attack as a lure, at the same time blocking the enemy's line of sight, and then letting Chikishoto cut in from the air, waiting for the opportunity to approach Hinata. This is likely to be a wave of killing. However, Nagato, who controls Six Paths Pain, must also be very clear that this level of sneak attack is ineffective against Hinata, who has Byakugan. Perverted sage above. Hinata warned loudly, a pair of Byakugan staring at the 5 Pain on the opposite side, to prevent Pain from playing any tricks. The highly dense chakra condensed again, and Shirato's head spread out like petals, revealing the metal machinery inside, and blue light quickly condensed at the top of the brain. Laser cannon. Hinata remembered this move. In the original Naruto, Pain once used this move to severely injure Rokubi Jinchuriki. Even the Hachibi killer felt a sense of impending death when facing this attack. Using Chikishoto as a lure, but is Shirato the real killer move? Hinata quickly analyzed in his mind. If Shirato's missiles and Chikishoto are both used to lure the enemy, Shirato's laser cannon can indeed surprise them. But this is only for ordinary ninjas, including Hinata, who has Byakugan. Against Dojutsu ninja, if you can't block the opponent's insight, then the best way is like in the original Chunin exam, when Xiaoli and Sasuke fought for the first time. The speed is so fast that the opponent's body can't react. Hinata was shocked, but at this time, Jiraiya was ready to intercept Chikishoto cutting in from the air after Hinata's reminder. Byakugan's gaze quickly swept over Chikishoto, and Chikishoto's hands began to form hand seals. That hand seal is summoning jutsu. Without time to remind, Hinata instantly opened Chakra's wings, and Chakra sprayed under his feet with all his strength, and flew towards Chikishoto at the fastest speed. With a wave of his right palm, the spiral light cut through the sky and hit Chikishoto in the air almost in the blink of an eye. Chikishoto had no resistance, and half of its body turned into powder almost instantly. Whoosh! On the ground an azure light flashed. Azura Path's laser cannon directly fired. The target was precisely Jiraiya, who had no value to Akatsuki. Lecherous immortal! Hinata and Naruto only had time to shout out, but they could only watch as Jiraiya was hit by the laser cannon. Boom, boom, boom. The flames from the explosion instantly engulfed Jiraiya. Hinata quickly flew down from the sky and stopped Naruto, who wanted to rush over. Naruto, don't worry. This is just a shadow clone. The lecherous immortal is fine. Pain's attack this time was indeed very beautiful. First, he used the Azura Realm's missiles to lure the enemy. Then the Heavenly Tao took the opportunity to use the repulsive force to bounce the animal realm into the air. At this time, the Azura Realm was condensing its killing move. At this time, the Azura Realm could attack directly from the ground, or the Beast Realm could summon the spirit to attack from the air, quickly luring the enemy, coupled with 2 attack modes. Even if Hinata could see through Pain's attack, it was too late to warn him. This meant that Jiraiya and Naruto, who couldn't see through Pain's attack, were almost bound to be hit. It's a pity that Pain chose to attack Jiraiya. Jiraiya is also one of the Sannin. He has participated in the Shinobi World War II and World War III, and has rich combat experience. When Jiraiya saw Hinata flying out to intercept the animal realm, he realized that something was wrong. But Jiraiya knew very well that Naruto is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and Pain would never attack Naruto easily. And Hinata is powerful. Even if he is tricked, he has the power to protect himself. Therefore, the only target that Pain can attack is Jiraiya. A simple shadow clone technique easily resolved Pain's painstakingly planned kill. Pain, on the other hand, lost his animal path, lost his psychic ability, and also lost his flexible tactics. Remembering that Jigakudo can resurrect other pain, Hinata quickly hit the animal realm and smashed it before it landed. Even the dregs are gone, let's see how you can resurrect now. Byakugan moved, and after perceiving Jiraiya's position, Hinata quickly shouted, Naruto. Well, Naruto doesn't have the ability to attack from a distance yet, so he can't be counted on in this battle. Hinata put his hands on his waist and immediately waved them out at the same time. 2 chakra rays circled together and shot towards Pain in a spiral shape. As early as when Hinata was about to attack, Tendo Pain was already vigilant. Is it another attack that can't be absorbed? Tendo's eyes moved slightly, and he pointed at one of the Pain with one hand. Shinra Tensei. Pain, who was bounced back by the repulsive force, quickly formed a seal with both hands. At the moment when the spiral light was about to hit the other 4 Pain, all the Pain were summoned together. This is Animal Realm? Hinata's expression suddenly froze. If this Pain is Animal Realm, then what is the Pain that was just shattered by himself? On the other side, in order to avoid the attack of Cerberus, Gamma Hero jumped high, and Jiraiya's small figure hidden on Gamma Hero's body seemed inconspicuous. Just at the moment when the 5 Pain landed, Jiraiya quickly rushed out from Gamma Hero's body, and he fell from the sky, dragging a huge Rasengan in his hand. Super Jade Conch Revolving Maru. Have you ever seen a Rasengan falling from the sky? Hinata flapped the wings behind him, preparing to save Jiraiya. Although Hinata and Jiraiya's cooperation this time is also clever, Hinata can't figure out why there is a second animal realm on the opposite side. Without surprise, Jiraiya's attack this time is impossible to succeed. Even if Shinra Tensei of Tendo is still on cooldown, the ability of Gakido can restrain almost all ninjutsu except for senjutsu. Seal technique. Gakido aimed at Jiraiya with one hand. At the moment when the white barrier touched the Super Jade Rasengan, the white barrier absorbed the Super Jade Rasengan like a whale sucking water. Tendo Pain launched an attack at the same time, and the black iron rod shot towards Jiraiya like an arrow from the string. Dang. A sound of metal clashing sounded. Jiraiya waved his kunai to resist the iron rod, but he didn't know what material the iron rod was made of, and the kunai suddenly broke at the moment of contact with it. Seeing that the black iron rod was about to pierce Jiraiya's body, Jiraiya's whole body seemed to be attracted by some kind of force, and he quickly flew towards Hinata's position. The attack failed. Tendo Pain looked at Hinata and Jiraiya, who were floating in the air indifferently. These 2 people are really not easy to deal with. Perverted sage. Seeing Jiraiya's expression was a little dazed, Hinata quickly asked, How are you? That face. How could? Jiraiya murmured twice, and there was still some disbelief on his face. In fact, when he first heard the rumors about Rinnegan, Jiraiya thought of the child named Nagato he had met in the Rain Country. It's just that with the information about Rinnegan, there is also the information that 6 Paths Pain are all puppets, and Rinnegan's body has never appeared. It's just that Jiraiya didn't expect that one of the 6 puppets controlled by Rinnegan turned out to be. Chapter 533. Yahiko. Even after so many years, Jiraiya still clearly remembers this name. The orphan of the Rain Village, the boy with the dream of achieving peace. The 3 of them. What happened to them? This wasn't the first time the name of the organizations appeared in the shinobi world. As early as during the Third Shinobi World War, Jiraiya heard rumors about them, and he also paid attention to the 3 disciples who carefully taught them for 3 years. At that time, the Akatsuki did a lot of great things, and they were determined to create a peaceful world without relying on extreme force. However, before the end of the Third Shinobi World War, the organizations completely disappeared, and Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan also completely disappeared. When Jiraiya noticed the organizations again, it was already the time when Orochimaru joined them. For many years, Jiraiya has been secretly investigating the movements of the organizations, until last year when the news of the Rinnegan spread all over the shinobi world. Jiraiya was really sure that the leader of the organizations was the red-haired boy who had the Rinnegan. It's just that he didn't expect that after so many years, the style of the organizations had completely changed. Jiraiya was heartbroken, He glared at Tendo Pain and asked loudly, "Why? Why did you become like this? Yahiko, what happened to you?" "You ask me why?" Tendo Pain slightly raised his head. There was no emotion in his purple Rinnegan eyes. "You don't need to know. In the end, you are nothing more than a mortal." "Mortal?" Jiraiya slightly frowned. Tendo Pain looked at Jiraiya and said faintly, "Too many people died in the Rain Village, and their pain made me grow. Ignorant children can only grow up after knowing pain. I have grown beyond a mortal and infinite pain. From a mortal to a god." Jiraiya's face flashed a trace of anger. He stared at Pain and asked in a deep voice, "So as a god, what do you want to do?" Pain didn't seem to be in a hurry to attack. Hearing Jiraiya's slightly sarcastic question, Tendo's tone was still as calm as 10,000-year-old ice. "I want to make a truce in this war-torn secular world. This is the mission of God. In the war between countries, how can we stop the war quickly? As long as we use forbidden weapons to participate in the war. The person who holds this weapon will use its power. Thousands of people will die instantly. Everyone will feel fear." After a pause, Pain's eyes seemed to flash a fanatical look. "In this way, people, countries, and even the whole world will know pain. Worlds ofs, there will no longer be wars. It can's pain, pain's pain, 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 pain. If you want this world to grow and move forward, you must have the guidance of God. This world is still a child now. If you want the world to grow, you have to let it know what pain is." Jiraiya was furious when he heard this, but when Jiraiya's eyes swept over Pain's fanatical expression, Jiraiya's face calmed down instantly. However, under Jiraiya's calm expression, he could hardly suppress his anger. "You robbed the tailed beasts just to use the power of tailed beasts to make weapons of war?" Jiraiya asked indifferently. Tendo Pain also looked directly at Jiraiya's eyes and said in a cold tone, "If you don't understand the pain of others, you can't really understand others. And even if you can understand, people can't reconcile with each other." He had to admit that although Pain's nuclear balance theory was a bit extreme, it was really possible to achieve it. Hinata couldn't remember who said a sentence. People tend to forgive others' mistakes, but it's difficult to forgive others right. Because forgiving others' mistakes would make one seem magnanimous and wise. And forgiving others right will prove that you have done something stupid. And Hinata has always felt that the reason why peace was achieved after the Fourth Shinobi World War in the original Naruto. In addition to the influence of Azura's chakra, Naruto and Sasuke's power also played a large role in deterring the villages. In the end, although Naruto's way of achieving peace was not as extreme as Pain's, the means of achieving peace were actually the same. Both of them achieved peace through strength. If Naruto didn't have strength, no matter how nice his words were, I'm afraid no one would pay attention to him, right? Jiraiya's face was gloomy and said, "It seems that we can't talk. As a mortal, you can never understand the idea of God. You just need to obey." Pain shouted, "Let the world be reborn from destruction. This is my peace." Boom. With a loud noise, the toad in the distance was besieged by two Chikishoto psychic beasts, and the situation was already in danger. "Jiraiya," Gamabunta shouted, "don't talk to them. These beasts are not easy to deal with." Jiraiya turned his head and looked at Hinata. Hinata's small face instantly became serious, and then he nodded slightly to Jiraiya. Although Hinata didn't know the deep meaning of Jiraiya's eyes, as long as he nodded his head he wouldn't be wrong. And Hinata felt that if he didn't guess wrong, this look must mean attack. Waving the chakra hand and throwing Jiraiya out, Hinata's hands blasted out at the same time, and the blue spiral chakra light directly shot towards Tendo Pain. In the storm, the golden sunlight that was completely different from the surrounding gloomy sky shone through the dark clouds and onto the ground. Flying, Jiraiya looked up and then shouted at Tendo Pain, "Yahiko, do you see? This is the light of hope. Darkness will not cover this land forever." Tendo Pain raised his hands, and Shinra Tensei was fully activated. At this moment, even his face became distorted. "No, this is the light of Akatsuki. Fuck." Hinata almost fell from the sky when he heard these two people's words. That big hole in the dark clouds in the sky, wasn't it made by the magic beam cannon? That I shot into the sky when I attacked the Chikishoto? When did this hole become your light of hope? And under the influence of the Sambai chakra, that big hole is slowly healing. Your light of hope is about to disappear, but you are still fighting. Oh. A rumble. The repulsive force of Shinra Tensei was like a landslide or a tsunami, and the ground was pushed by the repulsive force like waves rolling in all directions. However, Hinata's magic beam cannon was rotating and condensing the immortal technique chakra to the extreme, and its mass and density were not comparable to this repulsive force. Hinata broke the surface, and the repulsive force of Shinra Tensei was only in a stalemate for a short moment before it was pierced by the spiral light, and the blue light shot straight towards Tendo Pain. At this moment, Jiraiya, who was thrown out by Hinata, was dumbfounded. Although the repulsive force was invisible, the surging force could be felt even from far away. What's more, the repulsive force was almost touching Jiraiya's face. Could it be that this old man is going to die here today? Chapter 534. At the moment of death, it was too late for Jiraiya to make any resistance. The repulsive force of Shinra Tensei was right in front of him, and the overwhelming repulsive force would seriously injure Jiraiya in less than a second, or even on the verge of death. However, this moment of impending death seemed to have turned into an eternity. Jiraiya seemed to see his past life. When he was a clumsy child, he fought with Orochimaru, and was bullied by Tsunade, which often made Sarutobi-sensei feel helpless. At that time, Jiraiya often felt proud of it. In his youth, Jiraiya worked hard for the village and ideals, and fought with Orochimaru and Tsunade against Hanzo, who was known as Demigod, and won the title of Legendary Sannin. It was too late to confess, and he could only watch his most beloved woman with other men. How many silent nights, Jiraiya could only wait silently alone. Later, Orochimaru began to drift away from Jiraiya, until Orochimaru's human experiments were exposed, and she defected from the village. Jiraiya was heartbroken, but there was nothing he could do. When he saw his beloved disciple Namikaze Minato get married and become the fourth Naruto, Jiraiya felt that his life was still worth something. However, when Jiraiya heard the bad news that Namikaze Minato died in order to seal the Nine Tails, he rushed all the way back to Shinobu, but he didn't even dare to look at Namikaze Minato's tombstone. In those years of confusion, Jiraiya could only wander around the ninja world. He was looking for the light of hope, but at the same time, because he couldn't see the slightest hope, he could only waste his time in confusion. Later, Jiraiya returned to Shinobu again and saw Naruto, and the fire of hope in his heart began to burn. Decades of memories came to an end. Jiraiya seemed to see Hinata's figure in the flames of hope. Amidst the golden flames, Hinata's eyes were curved and a gentle smile hung on his face. However, the pair of demon horns on Hinata's head and the small notebook in his hand clearly told Jiraiya the cause of his death. Jiraiya seemed to see that he still owed Hinata several meals, which he owed before he left Shinobu with Naruto. He had almost forgotten about it, but now it was clearly recalled by Jiraiya. Hinata, who was in the flames, opened his mouth. Then, a deafening roar like that of an ancient ferocious beast could be heard. Lecherous immortal, when are you going to pay me back? Jiraiya woke up instantly, and the repulsive force of Shinra Tensei blasted on Jiraiya mercilessly. Boom! There was a loud noise. But Jiraiya seemed to be deaf and couldn't hear anything. Everything in front of him seemed to be played in slow motion at this moment, and Pain's figure gradually became clear. The azure chakra appeared all over Jiraiya's body. The thin chakra shell seemed indestructible. It continued to move forward against the overwhelming repulsive force, approaching Pain little by little. Good chance. Jiraiya clenched his right wrist with his left hand, and an azure chakra ball appeared on Jiraiya's right hand. At first, it was only the size of a fist, but it began to expand rapidly in the blink of an eye. Just when Jiraiya was less than 5 meters away from Tendo Pain, the Super Jade Rasengan had condensed. In the next moment, this irregularly rotating chakra ball can tear Tendo Pain to pieces. Swish! A spiral light passed Jiraiya from behind at an extremely fast speed, and the target of the attack was also Tendo Pain. Jiraiya! What the hell? Seeing that Hinata and Jiraiya's attack was about to hit him, Tendo Pain's calm face still didn't show the slightest change in emotion. In the next moment, all the pain suddenly disappeared out of thin air, and they were psychically summoned by Chikishoto to a place 100 meters away. No. There was still one pain that was not psychically summoned, and that was the previous Chikishoto. The spiral light instantly shattered Chikishoto Pain, and then penetrated the ground. The soil and shockwave blasted Jiraiya far away. Fortunately, the Super Jade Rasengan offset part of the shock wave. Although Jiraiya looked a little embarrassed, he didn't suffer any injuries. Chikishoto again. Hinata finally knew the secret of pain. The pain that was shattered by Hinata before was indeed Chikishoto, and the pain that was just shattered was also Chikishoto. But all the pain were actually puppets controlled by Nagato with Rinnegan. He only needed to prepare a few more puppets in advance, and he could transfer the ability of Chikishoto at any time. Jiraiya also thought of this, but he thought more than Hinata. This time, the animal realm that summoned the pain collectively appeared out of thin air, but when the 6 paths of pain appeared collectively before, there were indeed 6 people. In order to transfer the ability of Chikishoto, the 6 pain that appeared at the beginning actually only had the ability of 5 paths. The substitute Chikishoto among the 6 people had no ability at the beginning. And this also means that pain has hidden the ability of a certain path in 6 paths of reincarnation in advance. Not good. Jiraiya suddenly shouted. His target is Naruto. Hinata turned around instantly when he heard the words. 6 pain. Gakido Pain locked Naruto's hands from behind. Naruto's body was paralyzed on Gakido's body, and he had lost the ability to resist. Jiraiya's expression was dignified. I prepared 3 spare puppets in advance. First I attracted Hinata and me, and finally, I used Chikishoto's ability to summon all the pain together and captured Naruto in an instant. Hinata also felt that things were tricky. If he faced other pain, Naruto could still rely on Ninetales' chakra to fight back. But at this time, it was Gakido that locked Naruto. Even if Ninetales used chakra, it would be instantly absorbed by Gakido's ability. But this was not what Hinata was worried about. 6 Paths Pain's chakra was connected to Nagato, and Tailed Beast's chakra could heal Nagato's body. Once Ninetales used chakra at this time, Gakido absorbed Ninetales' chakra. Perhaps Nagato, who was hiding somewhere at this moment, would instantly recover his physical functions. So far, Nagato's plan is still to use Getomazo to seal Tailed Beast chakra and create the ultimate war weapon nuclear, Hiruzen World. But once Nagato discovers the secret of Tailed Beast chakra, perhaps he will become more powerful, and even his body will be able to fight. This is Bordered Soil's plan? Hinata figured it all out in an instant. Without the help of Bordered Soil's spatial ability, pain couldn't appear out of thin air. And all this carefully planned by Bordered Soil may be to let Nagato discover that Tailed Beast chakra can heal his body, so that he can use Nagato to fight against Hinata and Black Zetsu. Because in Black Zetsu's plan, when Nagato gathers 9 tailed beasts, it will be his death. And a more powerful Nagato may really cause a lot of trouble to Hinata and Black Zetsu. And then Bordered Soil can benefit from it. Chapter 535. The rain slowed down a little. Hinata and Jiraiya stood in the rain and confronted 6 Paths Pain, and neither side dared to act rashly. I was careless, Jiraiya said with a dignified face. I didn't expect his target to be Naruto. Hinata rolled his eyes when he heard that. Hinata didn't believe that Jiraiya didn't think that Pain would attack Naruto. The real carelessness should be that Jiraiya didn't expect that Pain would have a backup puppet. What should we do? Hinata was a little anxious. If there is no accident, Naruto should be frantically calling Ninetales in his mind now. Once the Kyuubi's chakra is absorbed by Pain, Nagato will become even more powerful. Ninetales' chakra can even heal Chidori's piercing wound. Thinking of the Edo Tensei version of Nagato who absorbed chakra in the original manga, Hinata frowned unconsciously. Because his legs were crippled and a lot of vitality was absorbed by Getomazo, Nagato's biggest weakness is lack of mobility. Now Nagato can only rely on the support of instruments to control 6 Paths Pain to fight. However, the resurrected Edo Tensei version of Nagato in the original manga seems to lack mobility. This should be the result of long-term lack of exercise, which caused the muscle atrophy of his legs. With this in mind, Hinata suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Even if Nagato is resurrected, what can he do? Hinata's strongest point is his hand speed, and many years of LOL career. No, it's the hidden advantage of Gentle Fist, which allows Hinata to have the fastest attack speed in the shinobi world. In the current shinobi world, the only one who can pose a threat to Hinata is probably Yamato Kai. Don't act rashly after all, Naruto is still in his hands. Jiraiya calmly said. Hinata, at this distance can you communicate with Nine Tails? We must use the power of Nine Tails. Are you kidding? Hinata quickly shook his head and said, no. Rinnegan's eye power is above Byakugan. Jiraiya nodded slightly. This explanation makes sense. Among the three major dojutsu in the shinobi world, Byakugan can be said to be the most inconspicuous one. If it weren't for the Hyuga clan, Hinata, Byakugan would be completely useless. On the opposite side, 6 paths Pain adjusted their formation. Seems to feel that victory is in his hand. He stood at the front of the team. Jiraiya-sensei, Tenna. It seems this time I won't go. Quickly release Naruto. Hearing this, Tendo Pain sneered. Jiraiya-sensei, you are still so naive to say such nonsense. Or, is this the unique arrogance of your great shinobi village? Forget it. Pain didn't seem to want to say more. He looked at Jiraiya and said coldly, don't worry about the Sanbai, or Naruto will die immediately. Jiraiya clenched his fists and stared at Pain without saying a word. According to the order of the organizations collecting and sealing the bijou, Naruto's life will not be in danger in a short time, but if Jiraiya compromises at this moment, then this mission will fail. What's more, once Naruto is taken away by Pain, it will be too difficult to rescue Naruto. Hinata's eyes moved. He stepped forward and shouted, if you let Naruto go, we promise not to care about the Sanbai. But if you dare to take Naruto, I will immediately kill the Sanbai, and at the same time kill the other Jinchuriki, and even turn myself into a Jinchuriki. Believe me, once I catch a bijou, your Akatsuki's plan won't succeed even after 100 years. Jiraiya immediately looked up at Pain. Hinata's words sounded a bit naive, but Pain's lifeline was firmly pressed. The importance of the Nine Tails in Naruto's body to the organizations is self-evident, but the Nine Tails need to be sealed last. Once Hinata kills the Sanbai, kills the other Jinchuriki, or Hinata himself becomes a Biju's Jinchuriki, the organization's plan will no longer have a chance to succeed. Pain obviously thought of this as well. The Akatsuki only has 2 Biju in their hands, and it's obviously not worthwhile to fight Hinata at this time. Once Hinata desperately destroys the organization's plan, the Akatsuki's plan will really end here. The only advantage for the Akatsuki is that Hinata is Shinobu's ninja. As a Shinobu's ninja, Hinata must take care of the village and the situation of the Shinobu world. This time, Shinobu gave the Sanbai to the mist, which is undoubtedly the best proof. But once Hinata starts to go all out, a strong person with no bottom line is the most terrible thing. Pain or Nagato? Nagato never underestimates the power of fetters. Hinata and Naruto are playmates from childhood, and no one can guarantee to what extent Hinata will do for Naruto. At least, Yahiko was willing to give up his life for Nagato and Konan. Pain turned to Hinata, and there was a hint of fear in his indifferent tone. You really are the biggest threat to the Akatsuki. As early as 3 years ago, Pain wanted to deal with Hinata, but at that time he was stopped by someone. Ding! A light bulb lit up on Pain's head. Pain remembered that 3 years ago, at the organization's meeting, Pain proposed the idea of killing Hinata. But at that time, Itachi Uchiha said that Gentle Fist has limitations, and Hinata's strength has reached the limit of what Gentle Fist can achieve, and there can be no more progress. Pain now really wanted to grab Itachi Uchiha's collar, point at his nose and yell. Is this the limitation of Gentle Fist you said? Come on. Itachi Uchiha is awesome, and the task of dealing with Hinata will be handed over to you. Jiraiya shouted. Yahiko, what's your decision? Pain was silent for a moment, and then said in an indifferent tone. As you guessed, the Nine Tails must be the last seal. It's not wise to be your enemy before then. It will take some time to capture the Sambai, so we will wait here quietly. Jiraiya looked at Hinata, and Hinata whispered to Jiraiya. The chakra rain that blocked the Byakugan's vision has disappeared. The battle with the Sambai has stopped, and the Akatsuki is moving the Sambai. As for the mist, the two sides are still in a stalemate. Lecherous Immortal, what do you think is the purpose of the Akatsuki organization? Although Hinata already had his own guess, he still wanted to ask Jiraiya's opinion. After all, Jiraiya is a veteran ninja, and his experience in analyzing the situation is not comparable to Hinata. Jiraiya thought for a moment and then whispered. At first I did think that their goal was Naruto, but after listening to your words, I don't think so. The Akatsuki doesn't want to be our enemy now. But if it's just for the Sambai, the Akatsuki should have a better way. I can't figure it out. But if the Akatsuki's goal is not Naruto, then it must be you. Jiraiya turned to Hinata and said in a serious tone. Hinata, be careful, don't let your guard down. After a pause, Jiraiya added. Or, Yahiko's mission is to delay us. Hinata, don't forget that Sasuke is also nearby. Chapter 536. On the other end of the island, Sasuke stood alone in the storm. His clothes were soaked, and the bangs on his forehead were wet and stuck to both sides of his cheeks. Sasuke had been standing there for a while. He seemed to be waiting for something, but he seemed to be hesitating. In addition to the sound of the wind and rain, the sound of fighting could be heard. It was the sound of Itachi Uchiha and dried persimmon mackerel fighting against the Sambai. The sound of the wind and rain continued, but the sound of fighting stopped after a while. Finally, Sasuke put his hand on his sword and took a step forward with his right leg. The original Sasuke would not hesitate, because at that time, Sasuke only wanted revenge. He wanted to rush to Itachi Uchiha immediately. Either he killed Itachi Uchiha, or he was killed by Itachi Uchiha. However, at this moment, Sasuke was not doing it for revenge, but to save Itachi Uchiha and pull him out of the abyss of pain. Different goals and different moods. Perhaps this is the feeling of being close to home. Revenge is often easy. As long as one's emotions are controlled by impulse, one can move forward and not be influenced by anything. But in the face of his long-lost brother, Sasuke didn't know how he should face Itachi. In the distance, the battle with the Sambai was over, and Sasuke had to make a choice. A row of clear footprints was printed on the muddy soil. The pace was neither fast nor slow, but it was persistent. Rustle. A sound that did not belong to the rain hitting the leaves sounded. Itachi Uchiha stopped and looked back with a complicated expression. There was nothing there except for the dense forest, but Itachi Uchiha knew that Sasuke was waiting for him in the forest. Itachi Uchiha was also waiting, and he had been waiting for many years. Ghost Mackerel. You go back first. Itachi Uchiha's voice was particularly calm. Ghost Mackerel also noticed the strangeness in the forest. Hearing Itachi's words, Ghost Mackerel opened his mouth and grinned. Hey! Be careful not to get killed. After that, Ghost Mackerel manipulated the water flow to control the Sambai to continue moving forward. Itachi Uchiha turned and walked into the depths of the forest. Rustle. Pushing aside the leaves, Itachi Uchiha walked to the open space in the forest. Sasuke's calm eyes suddenly became excited. Itachi Uchiha. According to the agreement, I came to find you. Sasuke's eyes instantly turned into Scarlet Three-Tomo Sharingan. He stared at Uchiha Itachi and roared. With the same eyes as you. Unlike Sasuke, Itachi Uchiha was quite calm. Compared to Sasuke, who still couldn't control his emotions, Itachi Uchiha could maintain his expression at any time. I have been waiting for this day for a long time. Itachi's eyes also turned into Three-Tomo Sharingan. However, due to the obstruction of the storm, coupled with the blurred vision, even with the insight of the Sharingan, Itachi couldn't see Sasuke's face at the moment. This rain really came at a bad time. Itachi knew that Sasuke had already understood the truth of the genocide, and Hinata also told him about the plan to open Sasuke's eyes. The plan may succeed, but Itachi was very clear about his body, and he couldn't guarantee that he would survive. This may be the last time Itachi and Sasuke meet, But he couldn't even see his brother's face clearly. Maybe he could get closer. Why? Sasuke asked angrily. Itachi, why did you do that? I don't understand. There was obviously a better choice at the time. Why did you have to go to that step? After learning the truth of Uchiha's genocide, this was the only doubt in Sasuke's heart. Sasuke and Hinata talked about the family and the village more than once, and Hinata said more than once that if he had to choose between the village and the family, Hinata would definitely choose the family. Sasuke already understood the situation at that time, and Bordered Soil and Hinata also told him some things. But since Itachi and Shisui had that kind of eye power at that time, why didn't they try it? Even if the coup failed, they could escape from Shinobu with some of their people and live in seclusion. Genocide. This is too cruel. Itachi Uchiha calmly said. It's all in the past. No. Sasuke said coldly. This matter is not over yet. As long as I am here, it will never end. Sasuke was covered in killing intent, and the cold and evil chakra made the surrounding temperature extremely cold. Itachi Uchiha's eyes darkened. He knew Sasuke well. If he couldn't give Sasuke a reasonable explanation today, Sasuke would do something even more extreme. Sasuke. In that situation, I had no choice. Itachi Uchiha's face flashed with an abnormal flush. The Nine Tails Rebellion ended less than 7 years ago, and Shinobu's strength has weakened to the lowest point in history. Once Uchiha launches a coup, regardless of whether the coup succeeds or not, Shinobu's strength will be further weakened. Once this happens, the major ninja villages that have been eyeing Shinobu covetously will wait for the opportunity to move, and the Land of Fire will immediately be shrouded in the flames of war. Shisui Dage and I want to change the family, but there is nothing we can do. Looking at Sasuke, Itachi's tone seemed a little weak. The people have been blinded by desire and violence, immersed in the glory of Uchiha's past, but they can't see the changes of the times. Just like you now. No matter what I say, you won't listen to it. Sasuke's angry expression suddenly calmed down, and his tone was indifferent. Is it just because of this? Itachi Uchiha slowly said, Sasuke, I was born a few years earlier than you, and I have seen the cruelty of war with my father. Perhaps you will never understand how desperate the civilians are when the world is in the flames of war. The originally happy, prosperous, and peaceful village will be turned into ruins in an instant just because ninjas fight nearby. The living people lost their relatives and friends, and also lost their homes. They had to wander around the ninja world. Witnessing such a tragic situation, I can't remain indifferent. Looking at Sasuke, Itachi Uchiha said firmly, I did all this not only for Shinobu, but also for the Land of Fire, and also for other countries. Sasuke's originally cold eyes eased. He was not a cruel person, and his heart was also tender. Listening to Itachi's slow narration, Sasuke seemed to be able to understand Itachi's mood at that time. Let's start. After a long time, Sasuke's eyes showed a trace of fighting spirit. The battle with his brother is not mixed with any purpose. It's just that he wants to defeat his brother, who he has always been unable to defeat. Sasuke slowly pulled out his Kusanagi sword. We have been waiting for this battle for a long time. Chapter 537. Sasuke. Hinata's heart suddenly thumped. If it weren't for Jiraiya's reminder, Hinata would have almost forgotten about Sasuke. From the beginning to the end, Hinata regarded the Sanbai incident and the decisive battle between Sasuke and Itachi as two different things. Akatsuki wants the Sanbai, Shinobu and Kirin also want the Sanbai. Sasuke just appeared temporarily and posed no threat to the fight for the Sanbai. Because of this, Hinata started from the Sanbai incident when he thought about things. Even if Bordered Soil and Nagato were personally involved in this matter, they thought that Bordered Soil wanted to use Nine Tails to do something. Damn it! Hinata slapped his forehead fiercely. The decisive battle between Sasuke and Itachi was to stimulate Sasuke so that Manjikyu Sharingan would open. The most critical part of this plan was not that Itachi Uchiha said that his body was terminally ill after his defeat, but that Hinata rescued Itachi at the last moment. Only by saving Itachi Uchiha can Sasuke avoid falling into darkness. After all, The moment when Manjikyu Sharingan opens is the darkest moment in the hearts of the Uchiha people. With Sasuke's extreme temperament, coupled with Bordered Soil's deception, who knows what crazy things he will do? But if Hinata is dragged here by pain, there will be no chance to rush to rescue Itachi Uchiha. Natural perception was fully spread, and Sasuke and Itachi had already started the decisive battle. In terms of a ninja battle, this battle can be over in 3 to 5 minutes at most. How much Itachi Uchiha did in this battle, Hinata can't say now. However, if the two continued to be in a stalemate and entered a protracted battle, Sasuke would almost certainly win. Bordered Soil had not appeared yet. He was probably preparing to snatch Itachi Uchiha's corpse at the last moment. Lecherous Immortal, do you have a way to save her? Hinata asked softly. Jiraiya shook his head slightly. The distance was too far. Once he made a move, Pain would probably attack Naruto immediately. Hinata has a way to save Naruto, but he must use the power of the Tenseigan. If he were to rely solely on gentle fists, the limitations would be too great. Pain was calm and unruffled. He could also sense the situation on the island. Konan held back the Mist Village's people. Ghost Mackerel also took the Sanbai, and the battle between Sasuke and Itachi began. So far, everything was going as Akatsuki had expected. As long as Hinata and Jiraiya continued to be delayed here, Akatsuki's goal would be achieved in 5 minutes. The dark clouds in the sky gradually dispersed, and the rain stopped. The Sanbai had fallen into a coma, and the weather here would soon return to normal. Hinata had a headache, being stared at by Pain and Jiraiya at the same time. Even if he wanted to use the wood clone, there was no chance. If he had known earlier, he would have secretly used the wood clone when he was fighting with Pain. Lecherous Immortal, that guy doesn't dare to kill Naruto. Why don't we just grab him directly? Hinata whispered. Jiraiya was a little tempted. Naruto did fall into the enemy's hands, but the other party did not dare to threaten Naruto's life. Even Pain was actually more worried about Naruto's death than Hinata and Jiraiya. Wait. Jiraiya still had concerns. Let me think about it. Hinata used other tailed beasts as a threat, which indeed hit Pain's key point, so that Pain did not dare to act rashly for the time being. But once Hinata and Jiraiya took action, no one could guarantee that Pain would not retreat with Naruto. Hinata urged. Sometimes you can't think too much, just act recklessly and be done with it. But sometimes it's easy to get killed by recklessness, so Hinata urgently needs Jiraiya to take the blame. While persuading Jiraiya, Hinata also recalled the information about Rinnegan in his heart. Pain's Rinnegan's insight is far above Mangekyo Sharingan. When Pain attacked Shinobu in the original work, he used Rinnegan to see through the perception barrier above Shinobu. That barrier can't even be seen by many Hyuga clansmen. Rinnegan is very sensitive to chakra. So even if Hinata can avoid everyone's sight and secretly open Tenseigan to save Itachi, Pain should also be able to see the changes in Hinata's eyes. This is really bad. But the only thing that made Hinata a little relieved was that Naruto did not break out the power of Nine Tails. Nine Tails should be very clear about the ability of Rinnegan. Naruto is controlled by Gekido, and Nine Tails' head will not break out chakra unless a chibi bites his head. Thinking of this, Hinata also overturned his previous judgment that Bordered Soil did not want Nagato to recover his body. It seems that the purpose of Bordered Soil is Sasuke. Sasuke is the hidden power of Bordered Soil. Before getting Rinnegan, Bordered Soil needs Sasuke to do a lot of things for him. Hinata secretly analyzed in his heart. Bordered Soil's Kamui is very fast. As long as he touches Itachi, he can absorb Itachi in an instant. In addition, Itachi will definitely say something to Sasuke before he dies. Even if Bordered Soil doesn't know that Sasuke has learned the truth about the extermination of the Hyuga clan. But once Itachi really dies, Sasuke's revenge on Shinobu is almost inevitable. Jiraiya stared at Pain closely and said to Hinata calmly, "Hinata, how sure are you?" Hinata recovered, thought for a moment, and then said seriously, 8 layers. The first 6 people appeared suddenly. You should have read the information of the masked man. If I'm not wrong, that guy is hiding nearby at the moment. If you want to take Naruto away, in addition to using the psychic ability of Chikashoto, You can only use the space-time ninjutsu of the masked man. Hinata lowered his voice and analyzed. As long as you don't give them time to react, there will be no problem after I launch an attack. Jiraiya was silent when he heard this, and quickly analyzed the pros and cons in his heart. Hinata's attack speed is very fast, which Jiraiya does not deny. However, even if the attack is fast, before launching the attack, the limbs have to make corresponding movements, and even mobilize chakra in the body. With the insight of Rinnegan, it can be seen through in an instant. What's more, Hinata and Pain are separated by 100 meters at this moment. At such a distance, the success rate of Hinata's plan is very low. Jiraiya said in a deep voice. I can't cooperate with you. Hinata looked at Jiraiya contemptuously. Aren't you one of the Sannin? Sannin is not a god. Jiraiya rolled his eyes. Besides, haven't you always looked down on the name of Sannin? In this situation, Jiraiya has no way to cooperate with Hinata to launch a silent attack. Even if it's just a move, once Pain feels threatened, maybe Pain will immediately retreat with Naruto. There is no way. Hinata has sensed that the decisive battle between Sasuke and Itachi has entered the final moment, and he must take action. I can only use that trick. Hinata's small face was extremely serious. Jiraiya turned his head and asked curiously, What trick is that? Hinata said with a serious face. That is the secret trick that I have kept for many years. Chapter 538. Jiraiya's expression changed, and he unconsciously wanted to take a few steps back, but after seeing Pain 100 meters away, he stopped the impulse to retreat. Hinata, treasured for many years, secret technique. As long as you connect these words together, anyone who has heard of Hinata's name can imagine how shocking this technique will be once it is launched. It will make the world tremble, it will make the gods weep, and it will shock the world. But Jiraiya doesn't think so. He always feels that he may be unlucky. And Hinata increased his tone and said with a straight face, Perverted sage, are you ready? Yes, yes. Jiraiya was cautious, and his whole body was tense to the extreme. The scene in his fantasy not long ago reappeared in front of his eyes, and Jiraiya couldn't help but shiver. Opposite Hinata, Pain was also vigilant, and his eyes were dignified. In the vision of Rinnegan, he clearly saw that chakra had condensed on Hinata's body. At the same time, Pain looked at Hinata with vigilance. Where did Madara go? Pain's mind was wandering. Without the cooperation of Madara, his backup puppet can't appear at all. After all, Hinata is a perceptive ninja. If he hides Chikushido's substitute nearby, his tactics will be exposed in an instant. Pain can no longer use Chikushido's ability to escape at this moment. Hinata didn't immediately make a move, but kept recalling that feeling in his mind. Hinata and Orochimaru have the same view on jutsu. All jutsu is a kind of use of chakra. In theory, as long as you master chakra, you can master all ninjutsu in the world. However, for ordinary ninjas, if they want to exercise their mastery of chakra, they must learn ninjutsu. By learning ninjutsu, they can understand chakra and master chakra. The so-called dojutsu, even the magical, omniscient and omnipotent, is a ninjutsu that Hinata can use in theory. It's just that Hinata's understanding of yin-yang release is not deep enough, so he can't use dojutsu without relying on his eyes. Dojutsu ninjas have one thing that other ninjas cannot compare to, that is, they can speed up their understanding and comprehension of yin-yang release chakra by studying dojutsu. Uchiha Madara's understanding of yin-yang release reached that level because he opened Rinnegan, and believed that Black Zetsu was his will incarnation. If there is a ninjutsu in this world that can save Naruto silently, it must be Genjutsu. In Naruto's dojutsu, Toad's dojutsu's dojutsu, Do's dojutsu, Dodo's dodo. Genjutsu's dodo's dojutsu's dodo. As the owner of Byakugan, Otsutsuki Kagaya also used Genjutsu to control Otsutsuki Hamura. Genjutsu is a use of yin release, so in theory Hinata can also use Genjutsu. A brilliant Genjutsu user can even manipulate the chakra flow in the enemy's brain nerves at will, thus creating illusions to manipulate the enemy's 5 senses. What Genjutsu should I use? Kodo Amatsukami. No, pass. Tsukuyomi? No, it's too difficult. Countless well-known genjutsu flashed through Hinata's mind one after another, but they were all passed by Hinata. Hinata looked at the 6 pain on the opposite side, and found that they were also looking at him vigilantly. The timing is very good. No one in the ninja world has ever used Byakugan Do power to use genjutsu, and Hinata is not a ninja famous for genjutsu, so Pain won't guard against Hinata's genjutsu at all. In the black and white world, Pain's body seems to be illuminated, and his internal organs, bones, meridians, and chakra are clearly visible. Manipulating the opponent's chakra, creating false senses, and thus manipulating the opponent's 5 senses. Recalling the knowledge related to genjutsu he once learned, Hinata manipulated the natural energy in the distance and silently invaded Pain's body. This is genjutsu belonging to the senjutsu. Action! Hinata shouted, stretched out his chakra arm, grabbed Jiraiya, and threw him into the air, trying to break through from the air. Again? Jiraiya howled in his heart, but he was ready to attack. At the moment when Jiraiya was thrown out, Hinata bowed his head and opened Tenseigan. The repulsive force was launched, and the surging repulsive force ejected Hinata out in an instant. His whole body glided at a low altitude about 1 meter above the ground, rushing toward Pain on the opposite side like a missile. Closing the Tenseigan, Hinata sprayed chakra at full strength under his feet, and his speed further increased, and the distance of 100 meters was crossed in the blink of an eye. Pain's expression was still in a trance, and the control of genjutsu was not so easy to break free from. At this moment, even if facing Itachi Uchiha, Hinata is confident that he can compete with Itachi Uchiha in genjutsu. That's right. That's how arrogant he is. Boom. After smashing Gakido's body with one palm, Hinata grabbed Naruto and threw him toward Jiraiya, who was falling from the sky. At the same time he shouted, "Lascivious sage, you take Naruto and retreat first." Jiraiya caught Naruto and looked at Hinata hesitantly. "This," Hinata shouted. "Don't forget, we still have to take back Sanbai, leave this to me." Jiraiya nodded. "Okay. Be careful." Having said that, Jiraiya had no place to leverage in the air, and he was falling in the direction of Hinata and Pain. Hinata backhanded out an empty palm, controlling chakra to spray Jiraiya in a reverse direction. The operation was as fierce as a tiger. Looking at the results, after all, it was Hinata's first time using genjutsu. It was already very impressive to be able to make 6 Pain in a trance at the same time, not to mention that Hinata didn't use any brilliant genjutsu. Shinra Tensei. The repulsive force filled the entire space, and Tendo Pain's expression also became strange under the effect of the repulsive force. "My style is above yours. Good opportunity." Pain used Shinra Tensei regardless, but Hinata's eyes lit up. At the moment when the repulsive force approached, all the acupoints in Hinata's body sprayed out chakra, and chakra formed a ball to wrap Hinata. In order to improve his defense, Hinata didn't move, but the chakra ball around Hinata began to spin at high speed. This is a new type of revolving heaven developed by Hinata. It is not much different from the old revolving heaven, but it eliminates the step of the sorcerer's rotation, and avoids the feeling of dizziness after using revolving heaven for a long time. And since the sorcerer doesn't need to rotate, even if the revolving heaven is used, the sorcerer can take the opportunity to observe the enemy. Bang! The repulsive force collided with the chakra ball, and the chakra ball was instantly bounced out. Under the effect of the repulsive force, it flew towards the forest in the distance. Through the rotating chakra ball, Hinata could clearly see Tendo Pain getting farther and farther away. His style was still so strange, he waved his hand. Hinata was proud. "I'll leave first, you can play with the snake here by yourself." Chapter 539. Boom. Under the huge repulsion, the chakra ball flew hundreds of meters away. Rubble and giant trees collapsed, and the earth was in a mess. Tendo Pain looked dignified. His purple Rinnegan looked at the ruins in the distance, his right hand raised and clenched, ready to launch the strongest attack. Pain didn't think that this level of attack could hurt Hinata, and Naruto was also rescued by Jiraiya. Akatsuki's action this time had the biggest variable. Whether it was the Sanbai or Sasuke, they may be taken away by Shinobu's people. Genjutsu. I didn't expect the Byakugan to be able to use Genjutsu. 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, Tendo pain. He ran away. On the high ground in the distance of the battlefield, a huge tree stood on the cliff. Nagato sat in the instrument and looked through Pain's vision sharing, clearly seeing the entire battlefield. Although the chakra ball belonging to Hinata has been staying in the ruins, it's just a trace of chakra, not even a clone. Is he going to support Jiraiya? Or to Sasuke? Nagato secretly analyzed. Hinata had already negotiated the conditions with Pain before, and Hinata's threat at the time indeed made Nagato scruple. The 9 tails can be taken last, but the other bijou can't be lost. Once Hinata chooses a bijou and makes himself a Jinchuriki, it's indeed the biggest obstacle to the organization's plan. In that case, Hinata can't wait, obviously because of Sasuke. Figuring out the key, Nagato was about to manipulate Pain to support Sasuke and Itachi, but suddenly he thought of something, and the 5 Pain's movements stopped at the same time. Madara-san seems to have been paying attention to Sasuke for a long time. Because of Hinata, this shit-stirring stick, these shits. Bah. That's not right, cough cough. Due to Hinata's ingenious plan, Nagato had indeed begun to question the identity of bordered soil. Before this, Nagato didn't question the identity of bordered soil. After all, bordered soil claimed that he was seriously injured in the battle with Hashirama and lost part of his power. This excuse perfectly explained bordered soil's weakness at the moment. Moreover, bordered soil's space-time ninjutsu is very magical, far above Minato's. This point alone was enough to raise the status of bordered soil. Until the failure of bordered soil's several operations, coupled with the appearance of Kakashi's Sharingan that also has the ability of time and space, bordered soil was instantly kicked off the altar. During this time, Nagato also secretly investigated the past of Uchiha Madara. Although Uchiha Madara has not appeared in Jianghu for a long time, there are still legends about him. The person who calls himself Madara has many discrepancies with the rumored Uchiha Madara. Character, ability, temperament. Too many questions lingered in Nagato's mind, making him question the identity of bordered soil. Maybe this time. Thinking of this, Nagato manipulated Chikishoto to summon the chameleon, and prepared to find a high ground with a wide view to remotely monitor the battle between Sasuke and Itachi. On the other side, Hinata rescued Naruto and escaped from the battle with Pain. He used Tensigen to launch, omniscient and omnipotent, to teleport near the battlefield of Sasuke and Itachi, waiting for Sasuke to faint to save Itachi Uchiha. In the vision of Byakugan, Jiraiya and Naruto were hiding somewhere in the forest at this moment, and Jiraiya was checking Naruto's injuries. Fortunately, Naruto was not injured, but chakra was absorbed by Pain and temporarily lost his strength. Konan had also retreated, and Terumi Mei was gathering her subordinates, seemingly preparing to recover the sanbai that was taken away by Ghost Mackerel. However, Ghost Mackerel was out of Byakugan's vision at this moment, and the perceptive ninjas of the mist should not be able to find Ghost Mackerel. The sanbai was taken away by Ghost Mackerel from the water, and Ghost Mackerel himself was also an elite ninja, and he was from the Mist Village. He knew the Mist's investigative methods very well, and it was very easy to hide the traces. Why didn't Pain take action? Hinata secretly observed the battle between Sasuke and Itachi while looking for Pain's whereabouts in the vision of Byakugan. Pain obviously did a lot of homework to resist Hinata's Byakugan. Byakugan's vision was undoubtedly blocked, but Pain's actions were still exposed to Hinata's natural perception. Are you not going to continue? Is this monitoring here? Hinata's brain turned sharply, and the corner of his mouth slightly raised. If Hinata's guess was right, bordered soil was hiding nearby at this moment, and Nagato must know about bordered soil's plan, but he didn't choose to support bordered soil. It seems that Nagato has begun to suspect bordered soil. Exposing Kakashi's dojutsu was the best choice. And Kakashi should also be guessing the identity of bordered soil now. Next, I only need to continue to guide him, and the identity of bordered soil should be exposed soon. The name, Uchiha Bordered Soil, has no deterrence. If he dares to declare war on the 5 major ninja villages with the name of bordered soil, the 5 Kage will only laugh and let him stay where he is. The 5 major ninja villages can't join forces, and the plan to resurrect Otsutsuki Kagaya will not be disturbed. What's more, now that the Nine Tails has a backup, and the Hachibi is the most difficult to capture, Hinata will do it himself. In the original story, although the purpose of Bordered Soil's Shinobi World War was to capture the Hachibi and the Nine Tails, there is no guarantee that this kid has other ideas in his heart. After all, Bordered Soil seems to be very concerned about Naruto. Bordered Soil is quite willful. While thinking, the decisive battle between Sasuke and Itachi has reached a white-hot stage. On the messy battlefield, the black flames of Amaterasu burned in the storm. Sasuke stood on a boulder, his right hand flashing with lightning, and shouted, "Itachi Uchiha! This is a jutsu developed to kill you. Like Amaterasu, this is a jutsu that can't be avoided. Jutsu name Kirin. Disappear with the thunder, Chilin." Hearing this, Hinata's little ears moved slightly. The word Amaterasu simply stung Hinata's eardrums. At this moment, Hinata's admiration for Sasuke has reached its peak. He dared to compare his own jutsu with Amaterasu. Don't you know that Amaterasu is a kind fire that can't burn people? No wonder Kirin's cool big move couldn't kill Itachi Uchiha. It turns out that this move is the same as Amaterasu. The battlefield was surrounded by the black flames of Amaterasu, but Sasuke's body didn't have the slightest trace of burn. It can be seen that when Kirin fell from the sky, Itachi Uchiha's body didn't have the slightest trace of being struck by lightning. Rumble. The deafening sound of thunder, the dazzling white light. Hinata's vision lost all color in an instant. However, in Hinata's natural perception, Itachi Uchiha has supported the Susanoo Jutsu. Hinata. Sure enough, it's just as I expected. Amaterasu that can't burn people. Kirin that can't kill people. Kirin that can't kill people. Chapter 540. Carefully hiding in the grass, Hinata secretly observed the decisive battle between Sasuke and Itachi from a distance. From a jutsu point of view, Sasuke and Itachi's level is similar to the original. Both of them are proficient in the Uchiha clan's fire release. Sasuke's lightning release inherited Kakashi's Chidori series, and Itachi's Mangekyo is also very powerful. But unlike the original work, Sasuke's chakra has changed from chakra to chakra. Moreover, Urashima's chakra is the sacred tree chakra, which is similar to tailed beast chakra and chakra. This is a comprehensive improvement in strength, speed, reaction, ninjutsu power, and other aspects. And Itachi himself is not famous for his chakra, plus his body is terminally ill. Under this situation, Itachi Uchiha is gradually forced into a disadvantageous position by Sasuke. After all, Itachi Uchiha didn't want to kill Sasuke, but wanted to use this battle to test Sasuke's growth. As the battle continues, chakra is severely consumed, and Itachi Uchiha's defeat is only a matter of time. The battle ended. Sasuke told Itachi his inner thoughts with the attitude of a victor. Even if it is impossible to return to Shinobu, Sasuke also hopes that Itachi can find a quiet and peaceful place to live in seclusion, get married, have children, and live an ordinary life. For a long time, Itachi has been carrying too much. However, in the face of Sasuke's persuasion, Itachi Uchiha just looked at Sasuke with relief, and then explained his physical condition to Sasuke. Itachi's body was already terminally ill. Coupled with the all-out battle with Sasuke, Uchiha Itachi overdrew a lot of vitality to persist until now. Even if he received treatment immediately, Itachi Uchiha did not have much time left to live. The rain slowed down a little, and the storm turned into a drizzle. Sasuke and Itachi stood in the rain, telling each other their thoughts. Hinata was a little far away from the two, and he didn't want to eavesdrop on Sasuke and Itachi's confession. However, since the battle had ended, the bordered soil would appear soon. Hinata opened the Tensigen, and his natural perception and good and evil perception were fully expanded. Once the bordered soil dared to come out of the Kamui dimension, Hinata would immediately give him a ruthless blow. Shinwei space. At this moment, the bordered soil was panicking. Pain's action failed. He couldn't hold back Hinata and Jiraiya. Naruto was rescued by Jiraiya, and Hinata also came to the battlefield of Sasuke and Itachi. At this moment, Sasuke has won the decisive battle. Itachi Uchiha's body is highly overdrawn. and he can barely stay awake by his willpower, and may faint at any time. In the bordered soils plan, as long as Itachi Uchiha is unconscious, he will immediately appear and take Sasuke and Itachi away. Whether Itachi will die or not, he will dig out Itachi's eyes first, and then Itachi will die. Then the bordered soil will use the identity of the Uchiha's elder to fool Sasuke, and Sasuke will obediently listen to him. But now, although the result of the battle between Sasuke and Itachi is not beyond the expectations of the bordered soil, the relationship between the two is obviously not as tit-for-tat as he thought. Although the bordered soil can't hear what Sasuke and Itachi said, but through the Shunwei space, he can see the expressions of the two. Well, both Sasuke and Itachi have facial paralysis, so he can't see anything. But Sasuke doesn't want to kill Itachi, that's almost certain. In addition, Hinata is hiding by the side at the moment. Don't think that others can't see you just because you are a cat in the grass. The grass is only so big, your upper body is a cat in, but your butt is still exposed. Failed. Under the spiral mask, the bordered soil's face was gloomy and uncertain. Without Sasuke as his trump card, plus the ability of Kamui has been exposed, the bordered soil can't do a lot of things. And because of the repeated actions of the bordered soil, he has been targeted by many people at the moment. Especially in the case of repeated failures, Nagato has been suspicious of his identity, plus Conan has been whispering pillow talk to Nagato from time to time. Conan has never believed in the bordered soil from the beginning to the end. She hasn't slept with him. If she had slept with him a few times, Conan is sure to let the bordered soil see the power of the strongest wind-release Kekkei Genkai in the ninja world. Forget it. The bordered soil is also a person who can rise and fall. Losing Sasuke as his trump card, he can only hide in the dark from now on and wait for the opportunity. It's not a total loss. Moreover, today's matter also made the bordered soil really see that Sasuke and Hinata must have been secretly communicating for a long time. Since Hinata and Black Zetsu have been cooperating for a long time, the bordered soil wants to use Sasuke to do things. It's just a matter of going through a few more procedures. Boom. Itachi Uchiha finally lost all his strength, and his tenacious willpower couldn't resist the fatigue of the body, and he fell to the ground and fainted. Itachi! Sasuke shouted, and was about to step forward to help Itachi Uchiha. Hinata saw the opportunity and used Omniscient and Omnipotent instantly. Omniscient and Omnipotent can see the short future, and condense a body in the future to do something. Moving Itachi Uchiha's body in the future, and letting himself leave at the same time. For Hinata, this is just a waste of eye power. Before Sasuke could touch Itachi Uchiha's body disappeared in an instant. Along with Itachi, Hinata, who was hiding in the grass, also disappeared. This is space-time ninjutsu? Sasuke frowned. He was familiar with this technique. Uchiha take. Madara. Sasuke gnashed his teeth and said the name, but because of some scruples he swallowed the words bordered soil. After that, Sasuke left without looking back. He must immediately find the bordered soil and take back Itachi Uchiha. Only by sending Itachi to Hinata, it is possible to save Itachi Uchiha's life. For this reason, Sasuke did not hesitate to destroy the plan and completely kill Uchiha bordered soil. With these eyes. In the woods, Sasuke, who was walking quickly, suddenly opened his eyes, and the scarlet six-pointed star Sharingan appeared. Amaterasu represents destruction, and bordered soil represents the power to control destruction. This is the true portrayal of Sasuke's heart at this moment. He wants to destroy everything, but the little bit of purity in his heart stopped Sasuke's desire to destroy. Somewhere on the island in a cave, Hinata laid Itachi Uchiha flat on the ground, his right hand flashed with green light, and he was about to put it on Itachi Uchiha's chest to heal him. Thinking about it. Hey! Hinata put his flashing green hand on Itachi Uchiha's head. I can't be the only one who turned green. The green light of the Tensigen mode has always been a pain in Hinata's heart. Even if others don't know the deep meaning of green, Hinata knew it in his heart and felt uncomfortable. I'm green and I'm stronger. Brother Itachi is green, so he is resurrected. If you want to live, you have to be green. Well, the netizens are honest, they didn't lie to me. Chapter 541. How terrifying is the vitality that contains the power of yang release. Please listen to Hinata's explanation. My love died, and Chiyo used her vitality to resurrect my love. Akai opened the 8 gates and almost died, but Naruto just touched him and saved Akai. Kakashi's Sharingan was dug out by Uchiha Madara, and Naruto gently touched it again and used Kakashi's cells to create an eye in an instant. Not only that, but the power of White Zetsu and Senju Hashirama's would release are of the same origin. As long as someone loses an arm or a leg, as long as they touch White Zetsu's body, they can instantly recover. This is vitality. Terminally ill? Overdraft the body? Don't panic, let me touch you. I promise you can be revived with full blood. And so, Itachi Uchiha was cured by Hinata. Cough. Hearing the sound, Hinata said lightly, "Are you awake?" Itachi Uchiha opened his eyes weakly, and turned his head slightly to see Hinata standing at the entrance of the cave. Hinata's back was facing Itachi Uchiha, with his hands behind his back, looking at the sky through the gradually dispersing dark clouds. A ray of golden sunlight sprinkled on Hinata's body, illuminating Hinata in the darkness. What a scene of an otherworldly expert! The drizzle drifted into the cave through the entrance, and in the place where Itachi Uchiha couldn't see, Hinata's body was soaked by the rain. Grandma, it's not easy to pretend to be a master. Hinata cursed in his heart. Next time, if I pretend to be a master, Naruto and Sasuke won't be able to find a wife for the rest of their lives. Itachi Uchiha whispered. The wind at the entrance is strong, come in. Hinata. I also want to go in, but I can't. If he let Itachi Uchiha watch his back, Hinata could still continue to pretend to be an otherworldly expert. However, once Hinata turned around, the image of an otherworldly expert would immediately collapse. I, Hinata, am the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan. How can I let others see my embarrassing side? How do you feel? Hinata asked slowly. Itachi Uchiha sat up, but his body was still weak. He looked at Hinata and said gratefully, "Thank you." Hinata nodded slightly and his ethereal voice continued. "If there's nothing else, I'll ask Sasuke to come over. You guys should have a lot to talk about." Wait. Itachi Uchiha's eyes narrowed as he looked at Hinata's back and said, "Hinata, you." Taking a deep breath, Itachi Uchiha said, "Although I'm not qualified to intervene in your affairs, but as Shinobu Itachi Uchiha, there is one thing that I must ask clearly." Itachi Uchiha was a double agent, and had seen too much darkness over the years. For a long time, although Itachi Uchiha and Hinata were like confidants and had always communicated with each other occasionally, Itachi Uchiha also knew that Hinata and the Hyuga clan behind Hinata had a tendency to betray Shinobu. Hinata could contact Itachi Uchiha, but he never told Shinobu. Coupled with today's matter, it was obvious that Hinata did it behind Shinobu's back. And everything that Hinata did, including saving Itachi Uchiha, was to use Sasuke's power. Itachi Uchiha saw this very clearly. Because of this, even if Hinata saved Itachi Uchiha's life, Itachi Uchiha, as Sasuke's brother and Shinobu's ninja, had to ask more or less. As for what happened after that, Itachi Uchiha didn't want to intervene, and he didn't have the right to intervene. But this didn't prevent Itachi Uchiha from wanting to know something, and at the same time, he wanted to talk Hinata. Shinobu's? Itachi Uchiha's? Hinata's brain quickly recalled some arrogant lines, and said with a playful tone, "The old era is over, and a new era is beginning. Everyone must learn to survive in this new era." Since Shinobu's establishment, more than 60 years have passed, and the Senju clan has declined. The Uzumaki clan has been destroyed. The Ice Shield clan and Shikoku clan have been destroyed, until your Uchiha clan. For more than 60 years, only our Hyuga clan is still prosperous. The most powerful clan in the shinobi world. That's not just for show. Hinata has lived in Shinobu for 15 years, and he also investigated the whereabouts of the Senju clan. The Senju clan has indeed declined, but they haven't been destroyed. During the First and Second Shinobi World Wars, the Senju clan was targeted by the entire shinobi world, and a large number of their core members were killed. Since the death of Senju Rope Tree, the entire Senju clan has been hiding in the shadows, either leaving Shinobu and living in seclusion, or hiding in Shinobu and becoming a civilian ninja. Shinobu's Kazakage Moto Kajamaru regiment has the power of wood release. However, the once glorious Senju clan has declined in the end, and they no longer have the power they once had. Itachi Uchiha's eyes were a bit blurred. Itachi Uchiha can fully understand what Hinata said. The power of Kekkei Genkai will indeed arouse the jealousy of all ninjas without Kekkei Genkai. Others may not be able to become strong even if they train hard, but Kekkei Genkai only need to open their Kekkei Genkai to become strong immediately. The Uchiha clan was synonymous with geniuses. Even the Uchiha bordered soil, known as the last place, is only the last place in the Uchiha clan. Uchiha bordered soil was already able to use Grand Fireball even before entering the school. With such a powerful force and a large number of people, it is reasonable for them to be targeted by all parties. In particular, the Ninja Academy has trained a large number of civilian ninjas. With the rise of a large number of civilian ninjas, the Kekkei Genkai clan's life will naturally become more and more difficult. Itachi Uchiha has personally experienced and even participated in the Uchiha clan's extermination, so he knows how much darkness there is in it. If it wasn't for the fact that he had no choice, Itachi Uchiha wouldn't have slaughtered the entire clan with his own hands. Amaterasu represents destruction, and Tsukuyomi represents the false world. Itachi Uchiha's inner portrayal when he opened his eyes has been revealed without a doubt. Today's Itachi Uchiha is just controlling his inner desires with a strong will. Without waiting for Itachi Uchiha to speak, Hinata continued. I have seen many Uzumaki clansmen wandering in the ninja world, alone and helpless. As a former ally of the Uzumaki clan, after the destruction of the Uzumaki clan, Shinobu only brought back Uzumaki Kushina as the new Jinchuriki, but turned a blind eye to the wandering Uzumaki clansmen. We, Hyuga clan, don't want to end up like this. Itachi Uchiha looked at Hinata's back for a long time without saying anything. Everyone's choice is different, and their position is naturally different. He couldn't persuade Hinata to do anything. After a long time, Itachi Uchiha asked slowly, Is this your choice? Hinata said lightly, Since I have already made a choice, why ask why? Trying to pry into my heart will only be in vain. A smart person won't take secrets to heart. Itachi Uchiha. There is indeed a lot of darkness in the village, but as Shinobu's ninja, we should build the village better, not fall into darkness. Hinata slightly tilted his head when he heard this. Many people are arranged by fate, and I arrange fate. Hinata, so cool. I finally said it. As the big boss behind the scenes of the ninja world, Hinata felt that he must say something that shook the ninja world. My Uncle Wei's classic quote. Are you afraid? You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.